With over 30,000 partner retail locations nationwide, Progressive Leasing has helped more than 7 million people with imperfect credit get the things they need. With Progressive Leasing, you can enjoy convenient, flexible lease-to-own purchase options on furniture, laptops, headphones, jewelry, mobile phones, appliances, mattresses, and more. Get what you need when you need it. Progressive Leasing offers lease-to-own purchase options, acquiring ownership by leasing costs more than the retailer's cash price. Visit progleasing.com to get started today.
Done fine for tonight's show. Zero Cool, how you doing? Good to see you. Thanks for coming on in. And Bob Berkins, good to have you back. And Swamp Dweller's a big Chad Smith fan, by the way. Giant Chad Smith fan. Super Quest, what's happening, buddy? Good to see you. Roy the Boy, welcome to our channel. Thank you for joining us. And who else do we got here? Uncle Dale and his Power Stash are here. Remember, if you're in Austin, Texas, Uncle Dale is allowing spooky touching of his mustache for the rest of the month of good luck. Low Pro, nice to have you here. Grandmaster, good to see you. Smokin' Joe, thanks for coming on in. Hi, Sinister Vax, we got 20 seconds. Can we get through this? I think we can. There's Video Gabe Player, good to have you back. Solar Warden, always a pleasure, my friend. And Jay Fox Hunter, Zune, good to have you guys here. The Michael Leger is here, everyone. The Michael Leger. Gorgeous Marie, Little Deborah, Bassmaster, good to have you all here. And we are done. Let's rock and roll. Get your horns up because we're 3 seconds away. Let's make it rock. From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Go to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. You can follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram, Spaced Out Radio Show. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. I'll tell you, if you haven't signed up for Swamp Dweller on YouTube, you definitely are missing out. Our good friend from the swamps of eastern United States comes in to tell us some of the creepiest creepypasta stories going today. He gets hundreds of letters per day with people wanting him to read their encounters with creatures they cannot understand on a daily basis. This man is so busy, he's turned it into a full-time business, and he's encroaching on 250,000 subscribers on YouTube. He's one of the most popular when it comes to the creepypasta variety, and we're glad to have him as a friend of Spaced Out Radio. He comes into our chat room every now and again. Big fan of Chad Smith as well, and Mr. Swamp Dweller, Rob Adtia. Good to have you back, my friend. How are you? I think we got you on mute here. Let me put you there. There we are. There we are. That's old Davey's fault. That's Davey's fault. How you doing, my friend?
I am doing just fine. Glad to be back, Dave.
It's always good to have you here because I'll tell you, and I tell all our audience, and I don't know, I know you're creeping into our chat room every now and again, but I try and get our audience all over to your channel, man. And the reason why is when I go to bed at night, there's only one place I'm listening, man, and that is your channel, because these spooky stories that you have on your channel, Swamp Dweller on YouTube, they are so amazing, man. They are so amazing. And I know that you always tell your listeners, take everything that you hear with a grain of salt. But when you come to your channel and you see the topics that you have, that you are talking about, whether it's Bigfoot, Dogman, Chupacabra, these weird mysteries that are going on. I mean, it's never a dull day for you, is it?
Oh, there is never a day that is the same. That is for sure.
How did you get started in this? What made you decide that this was something you wanted to give a try at?
Honestly, I've just been pretty fascinated with YouTube in general ever since I kind of saw the website when I was younger. Never really knew what I wanted to do, but I always just had this strong interest in, strange things, scary movies, cryptid documentaries, anything that goes bump in the night. I've always been a big fan of. When I was younger, I did the typical ghost hunting, all the stuff that you do when you get into this stuff when you're younger. And I guess naturally, it just was always a fit, and there was just never anything else in life that really fit the way, covering strange and anomalous things did, whether it been, interviewing people who have seen Dogman or sharing stories, no matter what the topic be, from, thousands of people all across the world. It's just, being a part of something bigger than what we understand is just very fulfilling to me.
I gotta ask you, man, like when you decided that, because you do this full time, a lot of people may not know that this is your full-time job. This is what you do. When you started telling your family and friends, I'm going to be a full-time YouTuber, what were they thinking, man? Did they think you lost it?
Oh yeah, my family is very old school Southern. Very you work hard, you pay your bills, you pay your taxes. This is how life is, So when I was like, yeah, I'm basically making a living telling people stories, my parents were like, no, that doesn't make any sense. They're like, yeah, you need to get a job or something. They didn't understand for a while, but once they saw that like it was a real income and this was something viable and it wasn't, some weird sketchy porno online or something. My dad had some weird ideas at first of what I was doing. He had no idea, but yeah, I mean, they're very supportive now. My dad's like my biggest fan. I can't take my dad anywhere in public because he's very embarrassing. Every 5 seconds, telling people, my son's a famous YouTuber. It's like, Dad, it's not like that. But yeah, now they're very supportive, but it definitely was a struggle at first, as I'm sure many people who, in this line of work probably struggle with their parents, since YouTube and just working on the internet and making a living from social media and all this stuff that's become normal these days. 5 years ago wasn't as normal, so it definitely was kind of a culture shock, I guess.
Absolutely, and I want to ask you, because we'll get into some stories here coming up in a little bit, but I'm so enthralled with how you've built this business, and Swamp Dweller is a business for you. For you building this, how long did it take for the YouTube crowd and the public in general to catch on to what you're doing? Because I remember the last time we interviewed you just a couple of months ago, you were talking about how literally you get anywhere from 50 to 500 emails a day of people sending you stories.
It took a while to get to the point to where it is now, to where I'm basically just flooded with all kinds of stuff, stories, suggestions, etc. And I would probably say it took about a year for it to really get to about 50 a day. I would say like the first year it was really sporadic, but it was still enough to where I could put out a lot of content. Because lucky enough, I had quite a bit of content kind of stocked up before I even started reading stories, because I had done the podcast where I was interviewing people before, and people would send in their stuff anonymously, and so I got lucky in that sense. But it took about probably a solid year for it to really come down to where it is now, and obviously 5 years later, it's kind of just gotten bigger every year, a little bit more, but a little bit more. And now it's just to a point to where it's like I'm just trying to catch up with 2 years ago. So
no kidding. And I gotta hit you up on this, because YouTube is its own entity, man. And you know, there's literally millions upon millions of channels on every topic you could find. Some are massive who've figured out how to do things. Some are tiny where they look like they have potential, but they just haven't been able to figure it out yet. How long did it take you to figure out the YouTube game?
Honestly, at the time that I was starting YouTube and I was kind of forced into doing YouTube full time. It was kind of a weird dynamic. So I had to figure it out pretty much instantly. I didn't really have any time to unfortunately figure it out. So it was more of just an instantaneous thing. But I would say to where it wasn't like instantaneous in the sense that I understood what I was doing, but I had to figure it out real quick. And then I guess to the point to where I really genuinely understood what I was doing was probably about a year or maybe even 2 years into it, because you know it changes all the time. It never really stays the same. So it's kind of more of just figuring out how to go with that flow. You know, the ups and downs and the lefts and rights that YouTube constantly throws at you.
Why do you think they do that? Why do you think they're always switching up the algorithms or switching out what's popular and what's not? I mean, why not just leave it and let the channels grow naturally without kind of throwing all these curveballs behind the scenes?
I honestly couldn't tell you why they do what they do. It's like asking why Facebook does what Facebook does. I don't know. It's just one of those things. In my opinion, it's just all about money. There's more in constantly messing with things. There's more money in having an AI algorithm. There's more money in pushing certain types of creators over others, you know, etc. And it's just is what it is. I mean, YouTube has gone through so many sporadic, catastrophic changes over the years, whether it be adpocalypse this or, you know, other things that have happened. It's just, I guess it's just kind of the landscape of how society and social media works these days. There is no real reasonable explanation. They should just let it happen. If you subscribe to a channel, you should get notified, etc. But you know, the world isn't quite as simple as it should be, you know?
Oh, very true. Swamp Dweller is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. We're going to start kind of moving towards our story time here because I know you're bringing some creepy stories with you. Out of every email that you have read over the years since you started this, has there ever been one story or email that has really stuck out to you that maybe haunts you to this day or just kind of rubbed you the wrong way?
Yes, and I don't think it's something most people are going to expect the answer to be. You know, I cover spooky monsters and, you know, UFOs and skinwalkers and everything in between. And you would think that would be what, like, disturbs me the most. But the most disturbing thing and the thing that has stuck with me more than anything out of all the years of doing this was simply somebody sent me this very old newspaper clipping of a young lady named Margaret Peggy Beck who was killed and murdered, at her Girl Scout.
Are you still there?
Sorry about that. There was a girl that got killed at a Girl Scout camp in the 40s, and basically, they were like, she died of natural causes, even though she was zip-tied up, you know, there were signs of a struggle, et cetera, et cetera. And I did my best to look into this, and there was basically barely any info. Nobody had ever made a video about it. There's no articles online about it, et cetera. So I took it upon myself to contact any remaining family and make an actual little video about this. And the reason why, for some reason, it just kept me up, and I couldn't get over this stupid case for some reason until about 2 years ago it became the oldest case ever solved with DNA. And for some reason, that's just the one thing out of this 5 years that has really stuck with me and disturbed me the most, is this little girl that was killed and everybody just wanted to sweep it under the rug, and then all these years later, one little YouTube video helps, you know, everything move along.
You do some true crime, and you do end up doing some very intriguing stories about these strange cases of people being chased and followed and disappearing. When you go down that road of the human aspect of everything, do you feel different than telling a story about Dogman or Bigfoot or ghosts or aliens? I mean, does it hit home a little bit more for you?
Anything with real people, anything with tragedy, anything like that is always gonna be a little bit more hard hitting for me personally. Just because when I do these things, I don't like to do them for spook factor. I do them very educationally and very informally. It's all about the information, getting, the story correct, and kind of doing what, unfortunately, local media fails to do most of the time for these cases. And I get to contact the families and actually, learn about the people that we're talking about. And it becomes more than just writing a case or, making a video on YouTube. And it just kind of hits you in a level because it makes it real, And with Dogman and all these other things, these are relatable things for some people who have experienced them, and I feel like they can understand the same thing. When you've experienced something traumatic, or you insert yourself into a situation that has been traumatic to somebody else, it makes it all more real, and it just makes it a lot more impactful.
Do you take it personally? Like
the crime stuff, yeah.
Yeah. Why do you do that?
Personally, I couldn't really tell you why. It's just maybe it's just how my parents raised me. I guess the integrity part of it is the one thing I definitely never wanted to do, and the reason why I've never started a true crime channel is I've never wanted to make a channel that's based on that and monetizes just that and stuff like that. It's not that I don't monetize those types videos or anything like that, but that's just not those are passion projects for me. It's more of just I want to do something to help my local communities, and that's why most of the time I cover cases that are local or in the general vicinity of where I am.
And I can totally understand that. Did you ever think, or did you have an interest in journalism or any type of detective work? Because a lot of the stories that you do, especially when it does get personal like that, you do have to delve into them. You do have to look for those little pieces of evidence to make the story work. So, how do you rate yourself as almost like a YouTube type journalist?
I've never really thought about myself in that light, I guess. I always just saw myself as, kind of like an amateur writer, kind of just doing this to see if I can't help things, maybe put a little bit more light here, use my platform, a little bit more responsibly. I like to do charity things here and there, and I felt like this would be, a responsible way to, maybe help kick things along for some cases. And I never really wanted to be a journalist or really get into crime or anything like that. I'm actually not a big fan of gore. I can't really. I cringe too much. I wince too much. It just makes me shiver. I'm not a big gore guy, but I do love trying to comb into the details and find the things that might not have been looked at as I guess critically as they should have been. And problem solving, it's like a puzzle to me in a sense. And I guess that's how I view myself. I don't really see myself as a journalist, and because I know other people, there's people like Nexpo and Night Docs and all these other people who are just so much more deserving of that title than me for what I do. So,
well, hey, you're doing a good job though, and the people are listening, and the people are following. And in the end, you got to be doing something right.
Yeah, definitely.
Why not? And that's what it's all about, bringing that entertainment to the field and being able to really take forward. I asked you earlier about any emails or stories that have really stuck with you. Are there stories that you will not touch, that you're just like, this isn't for me, I don't want our channel going down this road?
I would say yes and no. Nothing is necessary, no topic necessarily is off limits outside of, obvious things. But I can't really think of, I've been sent some stories to where it's just, there's been, different reasons to why I didn't share them, but I can't think of any topic that I'd be like, ooh, that's off limits. There are boundaries that I guess personally I have, I don't want to touch anything that talks about, assault in certain manners and stuff like that. I just don't find those very enjoyable to read, and I don't feel like they're very enjoyable to listen to, and such like that. And there are topics like stalker stories that I tend to avoid more than others, not because it passes a boundary, but just because I know that's not what my audience in particular wants to hear. But there's not too much that I'll stray away from. It's mainly just dependent on what's happening in that particular story, I'd say.
See, for me, if I was doing what you're doing, I would have a tough time doing things with kids. You know, because being a dad 3 times over, you know, you get a little bit sensitive towards anything bad that happens to kids. Like even the Bigfoot stories where these kids get kidnapped, you know, and you hear them all the time of missing 411 with David Politis and stories like that. It just kind of really, really creeps me out, man. So I don't know if I could do what you do when it involves children going missing or harmed one way or another. But I guess in the end, you also have to cater to your audience a little bit to what they want to hear and what they want knowledge about too, right?
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely a mix of everything. You know, you got to obviously do things that you want to do to keep yourself happy and creatively going and flowing. But you obviously have to cover what the fans want and what the viewership wants. You know, it's not just about reaching new people. It's also about keeping those existing people happy. But, you know, obviously the balance is what you have to find. And, yeah, I lost my thought there, so.
Well, we got 3.5 minutes before we got to go to break here at the bottom of the hour. Swamp Dweller is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. For a lot of people, they may not know. How did you come up with the name Swamp Dweller?
I live in a swamp.
That would do it.
I grew up in a swamp. It's honestly, it's really simple as that, and it's just paying homage to my original podcast back in the day, which was Swamp Dog Chronicles.
Well, I guess that's a simple. I was hoping there was a big story about that. You know, that
everybody always hopes. Yeah,
you know, that you were walking through a swamp, and all of a sudden you came across a wrestling ring, and then you heard the theme music. One corner is Bigfoot, the other corner is Dogman in a cage match. This is what I was hoping for.
There is a somewhat cooler story, I guess. Long back in...
Socks are the #1 most requested item in homeless shelters. Underwear is the second, shirts are third. At Bombas, socks were first, made with comfortable details for everyday wearing. Then underwear and shirts too, all designed to perfectly fit. At Bombas, every item you purchase means you're donating an essential clothing item to someone in need. One comfortable clothing item for you, one donated to someone in need. Bombas, comfort for all. Get 20% off your purchase at bombas.com/comfy.
Buy one, get one for $1 at McDonald's. Or as we like to call it, the can't have just one deal. Mix and match a sausage biscuit, sausage McGriddles, McChicken biscuit, chicken McGriddles, or crispy hash browns. Want 2 sausage biscuits? Buy one, get one for $1. Want a sausage biscuit and hash browns? That's cool too. Choose more of what you love. Buy one, get one for $1 at McDonald's. Prices and participation may vary. Valid for item of equal or lesser value. Cannot be combined with combo meal.
The day I used to be a manager at Walmart, and there was this old lady. She's an old Seminole Creek woman who worked there. She was in her 70s. God bless her. Don't know why she was still working there. But she used to tell me stories about the swamp dog, which is basically a Floridian version of a dogman in a sense. And that's where the original name of my podcast came from. That's where the original idea and original everything basically for this channel, show, and all it came from was this little story she told me about these dogs that would terrorize them and screech outside their tents and their houses at night and eat their pigs and take their livestock and such.
That's getting real. That's getting really, really real. You know, do you believe all the stories that come in? Like, do you ever read some of those stories on those emails that come in, and you're like, what the hell is this all about? You got to be kidding me.
Oh, yeah, all the time. There's a lot I'm just, like, literally laughing. You'd be, like, there's a few that'll slip by sometimes. These troll stories, I call them, where, like, they'll be really good, but then at the end they have that twist, and you're like, oh, you wasted my time. Sometimes those will slip through, and it'll make me laugh. But, no, all the time I'll get stories where it's literally, like, it'll be like a sentence long. It'll be like, I went outside, and Bigfoot was there. and that's the whole story. So stuff like that all the time, yeah.
How do you edit them? Like when you're going through all of these emails, do you just look at them and you're like, no, this is going in the garbage? Like, do you have a special folder for the absolute stupid ones? Because I'm somebody who would do that.
Normally I just kind of toss those and just hopefully not try to ever see them ever again. But when it comes to editing, it's mainly just down to like punctuation, grammar, wording, formatting. Basically, I'll turn like a brick wall of text into a nice formatable multi-paragraph story that's readable. So that's about them. I don't try to change like what happens in stories. I don't try to embellish anything. The most I really do is change the wording sometimes, because most people who send in stories just aren't authors, and you can't really expect the average person to be. It's mainly just down to making it make sense.
Absolutely. Absolutely it is. Swamp Dweller, I'm going to get you to hold on right there. We are going to go to commercial break here at the bottom of the hour. Creepypasta night all night long on Spaced Out Radio with one of the best going. Nearly 250,000 subscribers on YouTube. If you haven't subscribed to Swamp Dweller, make sure you do. I know I do. I know that I'm listening each and every night right after this show. It's how I go to bed, freaking the hell out of myself, thanks to the big man, Swamp Dweller himself. We'll be back with Creepypasta stories right after this. All right, brother, we're clear. I know we have a lot of new listeners listening in, potentially for the first time here. We, just so you guys know, we are a live radio show, which is why we take commercial breaks. So you guys on YouTube, you kind of get to see the behind the scenes of everything that kind of goes on and the behind the scenes chatter. So we will pick it up back here in just a couple of minutes. But so thank you. Just wanted to explain and understand what's going on. And if you're liking what you're hearing so far, hit that subscribe button, ring that bell. We are literally here 7 days a week, starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern time. So thank you so much for giving us the opportunity. Man, this is good stuff. I could, honestly, dude, I could listen to you all night long. And I will tonight.
Dude, thank you.
I will tonight. I know
there's a lot of celebrities in the chat tonight, man. We got Southern Cannibal in here, man. You got to get him on the show sometime.
I would love to.
We got to get the more Southern brothers we can get on the show, the better. I think Canada needs more of us Southern folk up there.
Well, you know what? I'm all about building the bridge, man. All about building the bridge.
It's one long bridge, man. We'll make it. Bridge to Terabithia. Let's go.
I'm going to hit subscribe on his channel right now, Southern Cannibal. And, he's a creepypasta in videos, too.
Oh, yeah. It's one of my longtime friends. Me and him started roughly around the same time.
Nice. Yeah, I would love to get him on. Absolutely. Oh, gas station horror stories. That's good stuff there.
Yeah, I'll definitely talk to him about it. I'm sure he'd be down.
Oh, that'd be great. That'd be great. And, there's his email. So I know members of my booking team are listening. Southern Cannibal, if you don't mind. And we'll go from there. Hello.
Tell him if you don't do it, Swamp Dweller is going to be very upset with him.
Oh, well, he can hear you. He can totally hear you. Hi, gorgeous lady blah blah. How are you? Good to have you back. All right. As Davey says here, come up to BC, Swampy. Good beer, great women, food to die for.
I'm coming soon.
You ever been up this way?
Never been to BC. I've been over on like the Canadian side of Niagara Falls. That's my extent of the Great Maple State.
Nice.
Or country, I should say,
State,
I guess.
Whatever.
Country, state, yeah, whatever. All the same stuff, I guess. I don't know.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's a land mass. It's there.
Nice.
No, I definitely want to go to British Columbia, though. Seems like it'd be a lot of fun. Go see some Bigfoots. Maybe go yell at some Wendigos. Go see some Washugays, maybe.
Oh, Now, the Wendigos, they're way north of me. Unless you get, like, they're in the northern parts. And then they kind of start coming down, like, they're northern British Columbia, I've heard, and northern Alberta in the territories. And then they start kind of heading south towards Saskatchewan and Manitoba into the mid part of the provinces there. So it's, I don't want to see a Wendigo, man. I don't.
Stay away from those Algonquin areas. I think you'll be fine, man.
I know, but eventually, you get driven into those areas. You know how it is.
Oh, yeah. I'll be near there soon, though. I'll be visiting Oregon and Northern California, so maybe we'll stop by on the other side of the border and see what's going on.
Come on up, man. I'm game for it. All right. Hey, Harvey, how you doing? And Mr. Cowley, welcome back to the show. Oh, Mr. Cowley loves his spaced out radio. And Eric with a K is here, just reminding everybody, we are Eric with a K's fourth favorite show. Number 4. We're number 4. So,
well, you're my third favorite show, so
I appreciate
that, Eric.
Yeah, take that, Eric. Take that. Yeah.
Got him.
It's all good. It's all good. At least we're top 5. That's all that matters. All that matters. We used to be number 2. We used to be, but we got dethroned a couple of spots. Eric is finicky, shall we say? He's like a cat. He's finicky. We got about 22 seconds here. Richard Kern, welcome to our channel. We really appreciate you tuning us in. Big thank you to Nicola, to Rooted to Gorgeous Sacredness, Sinister Vax, Yancey, Jeremy, and Dirt Road for the amazing super chats. We're going to kick off the second half hour of the show right now. Stay tuned. Second half hour of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate earning your listening ears. Want to remind you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do us the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. We got a great swag section as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. The legendary Swamp Dweller is with us. He is one of the best when it comes to all stories known as creepypasta. And tonight, we have the Swamp Dweller sharing some stories with us. And I'm going to kick it off right now, Mr. Swamp, with one of my favorite series on your channel. And I'll tell you, I was listening last night on how to hunt chupacabras, and it's a letters and stories from a gentleman who we don't know their name because you don't give names, but you have this awesome series called Letters from a Cryptid Hunter. How did this get started?
Well, this is, again, one of those epic series on the channel that has a very mundane background to it. So I got an email, just like I get millions of emails all the time. And to me, this was nothing but another story, so I just kind of put it to the side for a while. And for some reason, randomly, I was looking up keywords and stuff for topics and trying to find stories that that were on the longer side for a video I wanted to do. And I noticed this one was incredibly long, so I checked it out, and it was this Letters from a Cryptid Hunter. Well, it wasn't called that. It was just a letter from a cryptid hunter, or somebody calling or alleging themselves to be a cryptid hunter, on how they took down and relocated a Sasquatch. And I was like, well, this is interesting. So I read it, and it ended up being a pretty long video. And I was like, well, let's put this out as its own thing. And, I didn't really have a name for it. But since in the intro of that first one, he said, well, I'm a cryptid hunter and I'm going to send you in various letters. I was like, well, let's just call it Letters from a Cryptid Hunter and then put whatever creature he's happening to go after and put it at the end. And after I did that, I sent it to him and said, I really enjoyed reading that. And if you would like to send in more, I'd be open. And we initially agreed on 10 letters and we did 10 letters and now we're working on 11. He came back after a while, and yeah.
Well, you know what? It's amazing that this person has taken the time. So when you get somebody like him who seems so dedicated to writing these stories down for you, I know you always put out there, take everything with a grain of salt, and that's what you have to do as well. But was there a point where you thought this guy is either very accurate or he is just one great storyteller?
Well, I always fact-checked everything because I don't want to be that guy throwing out misinformation, even if it is a story. And he's incredibly accurate. Knows his folklore down to a T. Knows his geography. Knows his just about everything. Everything he's talking about is verifiable, and it's very interesting. The only things that aren't verifiable in these stories are obviously the battles with the monsters themselves. But honestly, I'm on the fence with everything. This is a strange world. This world is a strange one, and it would be disingenuous of me to sit here and say that this is not true. But I honestly think it would be the same disingenuous nature to say that this is true. But I would love to believe that this is a real thing. I'd love to think that Sam White Owl is a real person, and all I can say is very much enjoy reading the stories.
All right. So the first story he sent you, do you remember it well, and what was it about?
The first story he sent me was a story about him relocating a Sasquatch. It was one of his first ever things he did as a hunter. A little backstory without giving up too much of the series. Sam White Owl is an alleged cryptid hunter. He is of Cherokee descent. His family and his ancestors for hundreds of years have been hunting and protecting humankind from strange and anomalous creatures known as cryptids. And one of the first stories he ever sent in was one of his first encounters with a Sasquatch, where the Sasquatch was getting too close to where people were camping and living, and it was starting to cause problems. It was getting in the way and, scaring people and, becoming aggressive. So Sam had to go in and do his thing and take down this Sasquatch, and instead of killing the beast, they decided to relocate it somewhere that it would be less of a problem. Probably threw that mofo somewhere in Canada.
Hey, you just bring it across the border. Why not?
Bunch of empty land.
Exactly. We'll just throw it in Manitoba and just see how it lasts there. So with this, though, this is a gentleman, Mr. Sam White Owl, and if he's listening, hi, how are you? This is a gentleman who really seems to be very up to date on his cryptids, whether it's Dogman, Bigfoot, Chupacabra, and others. So give us a detailed story about something that he has followed over the years that maybe caught you by surprise.
I would say when he first started sending letters in, it was typical stuff. It was Bigfoot, it was Dogman, it was all these typical things that I expected to see. But what really made me more intrigued and more invested in the whole Letters from a Cryptid Hunter series and Sam White Owl in general genuinely was when he started sending me things on Bunyip and Amelatuka and Mokelamembe and stuff like that. Like these incredibly detailed encounters, these incredibly precise, down to the nitty-gritty, inch by inch of these animals and creatures that most people have no idea even exist, from cultures that are very far, very diverse and very minute in the grand scheme of things. So that's really what kind of got my attention. And when he started talking about these cultures and talking about these things that I have genuinely never heard anybody else but myself even speak about, is when I started really being like, okay, this is something different.
With his Bigfoot, I mean, locating Bigfoot, hunting down Bigfoot, communicating with Bigfoot, I mean, this is stuff that Sasquatch researchers absolutely dream of. Absolutely dream of. And for you, does he have a Bigfoot encounter that really resonates with you?
Yeah, another one he shared is actually in his Dogman letter. You can find it under Dogman letter. Basically, he was fighting this Dogman, trying to obviously get it away from these hunters that it was going after, and these coal miners and etc. And he was having a hard time, basically getting his the 1-2 getting smacked up a bit, and earlier in this story, he had helped a young juvenile Bigfoot and helped it get away. I can't remember the exact details, but helped it in some capacity. And in his time of need, suddenly a large rock gets thrown and smashes into this Dogman. And from what Sam notices, this juvenile Bigfoot is there, but in front of this juvenile Bigfoot is a pissed off mother Bigfoot. And this Bigfoot helps Sam fight this Dogman off. And I'm not going to obviously go into details. You should go listen to it. But it is one of the most epic things ever. Everybody always wants to know who would win, Bigfoot or Dogman. Well, I think this story gives you a good idea of what could happen in either circumstance.
I'm still cheering for Bigfoot.
All day. That feels good.
It's the power. And I think Bigfoot comes in with a nice clean suplex, finishes it off with a camel clutch, breaking the Dogman's back. I think it's a dirty match. I think it's a violent match, but in the end, I think Bigfoot wins.
You're not too far off from what actually happens there. So he calls him a jabroni, spits on him, and
exactly. Swamp Dweller is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. One of the series that I absolutely enjoy listening to is Park Rangers stories. Now, you get a lot of letters from park rangers saying some of the creepy things that are happening right across North America at some of the most famous parks, and even some that are hidden way deep into the woods. Tell us about these park ranger stories.
I'd say the park ranger stories were it's the first real thing that got Swamp Dweller on the map. I guess Dogman would be the initial blip, but park rangers are what really define Swamp Dweller for the greater scheme of what Swamp Dweller is. There were just people who were park rangers, and as myself, I was a volunteer park ranger for quite a few years at a local state park growing up, and I always loved doing it, cleaning up the parks, helping out with events, charity things, community things, etc. And it was just something that I was always very passionate about, and something that I wanted to pursue, but unfortunately never got the chance to, because life turns out the way it does. And so when I started getting stories here and there from these park rangers, I decided, hey, I don't see anybody else putting together stories from these people. These are the people that are the Forestry Service. They see and are on so many types of scenes, it's insane. Whether it be crime scenes, whether it be things that are with the secret government, whether it be just strange UFOs or lights in the skies, cryptid encounters, they hear things from guests every single day. The amount of weird things I heard just being a volunteer was absolutely insane. So what really intrigues me is just the fact that how much time these people spend up there. A lot of times they have degrees, and a lot of times they are very, very experienced, and you can't necessarily discount these people.
All right.
It would be like discounting.
Sorry, go ahead, please.
It would be like I forgot what I was going to say. I'm sorry. Continue.
Oh, that's all right. For you, saying that you heard some of these stories personally before you brought them to the channel, what were you hearing?
Just weird things like we saw something strange on the trail, or it would be like there were voices of children calling for help here, or there'd be like people. One distinct one that I remember on the radio one time. I was pushing this little buggy, picking up trash that was on these trails, and there was these little waterfalls near us, and they were saying that there was a kid stuck in the waterfall, or at least it sounded like one, and the nearest person needs to go ASAP as more people were coming. And because people were calling it in at the front of the visitor center. So I ran up there real quick, but there's nobody there. I'm not hearing anything. I'm not seeing anything, but I noticed there's a few people kind of pointing.
5 enter detention.
I think he's breathing. I'm calling 911.
4 come out alive.
Heaven's dead.
They think one of us did it.
Based on the #1 New York Times bestseller, One of Us is Lying, a brand new series streaming only on Peacock.
What can you do if you wake up rested? Never wake up hot or tired again with Chili Sleep, powered by innovative app-controlled cooling technology. Visit chilisleep.com/try to fall asleep faster and wake up rested.
And saying, hey, look, there's a kid there. And when I look over, I see this little, I don't even know, it looks like a shirt or something. So I'm like, okay, let me try to pop over this fence and grab it. But when I pop over this fence and I turn around, that shirt's not there anymore. And I don't know, apparently there was a ghost. I mean, I don't really know. It was one of those things where I saw, like, it looked like an orange shirt. I jump over, there's nothing there anymore, and everybody says that the girl's gone now. I don't know exactly what happened, but I heard rumors for weeks after that somebody saw a little girl climb over the fence and jump into the waterfall, basically, and they were screaming to get her help or something along those lines. And it just stuff like that all the time, just weird stuff. People hiking on the trails alone, they would feel something or see something. And I'm very familiar with the local fauna in that area. I grew up most of my life in that area, and people would explain seeing things that just didn't make sense sometimes,
What about alien stories from these park rangers? I mean, so many of your stories have these park rangers seeing weird lights in the sky or glowing happening in the forest. And, especially during fire season, you got to go check out when something's glowing in case you got to call in the fire department. So I'm just curious, any alien stories with this?
Yeah, there's been quite a few. I've shared probably close to 150 park ranger stories or so at this point. So I would say easily probably 15 or so more UFO, weird light, weird lost time, strange stuff like that. There's one that sticks out. The angel is, we call it the I can't remember exactly, but basically an angel of death kind of story, but it sounds way more extraterrestrial than paranormal or actually like an angel of death. It was like this strange cylinder people would see in the sky in this park, and it would beam down this light, and in this light would be like this angel, you know what I mean, like this creature with angelic wings or something of the sort. But when you get close to it, it looked so much more demonic, unnatural, inhuman. And it would lure you in almost like a siren would with this beautiful song, this beautiful presence from afar. And when you got in, it was a whole different thing. And to me, that always just kind of reminded me of kind of some weird alien type thing that you might have heard on Ancient Aliens or some weird thing.
Now, a lot of these park rangers claim to have seen craft, claim to seen weird creatures kind of, slinking their way through the forest. Do you think that a lot of these sightings that the park rangers are having are reported to higher ups, and basically shunned, and that's the reason why they're reaching out to you to share their stories?
In some cases, I think in some early cases, yes. But I think in a lot of cases, absolutely not. I don't think a lot of these people share their stories for the exact reason you said, ridicule. And I've interviewed more than one person who has been fired for making concerns about these things. There is a fictional series on my channel that is written and produced by myself called, with help of Sinister Dark Soul, called Strange Things I've Seen as a Park Ranger. And it's a cool fictional podcast series that we made based off of actual interviews I had with park rangers who were fired, exonerated, exiled, etc., from their jobs after questioning strange happenings. A lot of people questioning why crimes or missing people are being brushed under the rug in these state parks and these national parks and provincial parks, and asking why, certain things are happening. A story that sticks off the top of my head is a park would routinely kept closing off this one trail for no good reason. The only thing that people could connect that a lot of recent missing people cases were people who went on that trail, and there would always be these strange men in these hazmat type suits, these bright white hazmat type suits with these weird breathing apparatuses looking for stuff in these fields. And at night, sometimes there would be these strange glowing that would come from those groups of trees and stuff. And no one would ever say anything when they would be questioning it. And they started talking to the local paper and stuff like that. And then they get fired and basically ridiculed and made to look like some crazy psycho, basically.
It's insane, man. Because, I mean, in a lot of these stories, when you hear that all of a sudden, just out of the blue, these government people seem to be around the forest looking for them, and they're, I don't even know how this happens, because up here in Canada we don't have a lot of park rangers. We used to way back in the day, but it's kind of one of those positions that's gone extinct quite a bit, and so I'm very curious, like for what's happening down there. Do you ever get any of those stories that you could share where the park ranger goes to investigate, and there are, like you were saying, government officials or these weird military-type characters wandering around and basically saying, get out of here?
Quite a few. I'm trying to think of a few off the top of my head. Like I said, that series, there's another one I'm trying to think that's on top of my head. I'm a park security member, and there are some things you should know is another series. It's all based on the same exact thing. That some parks, it's a weird study, and something I'm going to put a video out on soon, is that some parks in America, especially national parks and national forests and like national reserves, not so much state parks, have very strange rules that they have on these signs posted. Basically weird stuff, like basically saying, like, if you leave the trail, if you leave this trail, there's a high chance that you're not going to ever come back, essentially. Stuff like that. Just like really weird, cryptic, strange signs and strange rules and just things that are just really creepy, especially for, the federal government to be putting into these parks that are supposed to be meant for hiking.
That is very weird. If you go into this part of the forest, you're not going to come back? I mean, is that real?
Yeah, I've been to a few of these parks. I've got some pictures. It's really strange.
I can't even fathom that. How do you to me, obviously, when, somebody like me reads that sign, if I'm face to face with it, I would be like, well, I guess we're not going there. But that has to trip the curiosity of a lot of people, man.
Yeah, I think... See, I have a few theories to that. The cynical part of me wants to be like, that's just a tourism move. Like, you're like, oh, spooky, people are going to want to go. But there's obviously the inquisitive side of me that's like, what's going on there?
I just don't get that.
Very creepy.
That is totally creepy. And do you think something like that is actually a fair warning? Like there are people who've gone missing in that area?
Yeah, I think it's, as much as it is creepy, I do think it is a fair thing. I do think basically having that warning should be there. It's like anytime you get in the car, you have a 100% chance of dying, right? It's the same when you go out hiking, right? You have a 100% chance. Like, a bear might come get you, Bigfoot might come get you. You never know what's going to happen.
Maybe that's what's happening up here in Canada in the forest with all the Sasquatch and Dogman happenings and the Wendigos. I don't know. We have 2 minutes to go before we have to go to break here at the top of the hour. Swamp Dweller is our guest tonight. If you haven't signed up for his YouTube channel, please do so. One of the other sections, actually, we'll continue with the park rangers here up until the top of the hour. Have you heard of stories of park rangers quitting their jobs because they just can't handle the spookiness anymore?
Yes, I've shared multiple ones. A lot of it seems like a good majority of the stories that come to mind are all people who have quit their job because they just can't take the pressure of knowing certain things and basically nobody caring. Nobody's doing anything. Their lives are being lost. Lives are being shattered. And, just strange and anomalous things are happening every single day, and nobody's doing anything about it.
Why do you think the park rangers or their governing body in general are keeping this quiet? I mean, this is one of the things that drives David Paulides nuts as well.
There's agendas out there, but I think it's for the greater good in some sense that they keep certain things quiet. I do think when it comes to sweeping crimes and, missing people stuff under the rug, that's really weird. I think that's something that should never be done. But when it comes to disclosure for say if they're hiding Bigfoot or something, I think that's a bit more reasonable. But I don't really know what they could gain from hiding a lot of these things. A lot of times it's just more mind-boggling into why they wouldn't share it. But there's got to be something more, whether it's David Paulides or one of the many other people looking into these strange phenomenons of missing people and strange creatures that are happening in these state and national parks. There's got to be something happening. I mean, we can go to what you guys are known for on the UFO side of things or the extraterrestrial side of things and, look into those. Are these breeding grounds, nesting grounds for them to do whatever they're doing?
Who knows? Swamp Dweller, I'm going to get you to hold on right there because we are going to go to break here at the top of the hour. 1 hour down. We got another 90 minutes to go with our good friend Swamp Dweller. YouTube.com/Swamp Dweller will get you to his channel. Hit that subscribe button. And because we're bringing him on, hit our subscribe button too. We'd like that. We'd appreciate that as well. More spooky stories from the swamp when we return on Spaced Out Radio, hour number 2 next. All right, we're clear. That was a good hour, man. Good, solid hour.
Felt good.
Yeah, man. We got 6 minutes.
Good to see all the swamp folk in the chat there.
Yeah, there's a number of them. Thank you for bringing them along.
There we go, Swamped Out Radio. We got to get that graphic made.
That's our man Mickle in a Pickle. He that dude's weird. He's weird. Fantastically funny. Fantastically funny. Yeah.
Nothing wrong with a little weird, right?
Well, dude, I got a weird sense of humor, and one of our listeners and followers on Twitter, a UFO hunter out of Toronto, one day came into our chat room. And for some reason, his name was switched to Meaty Toes. And he couldn't figure out how his name kept on. And it was only happening when he was coming into our chat room that his name would switch to Meaty Toes. Well, I started kind of making fun of this, and Mickle in the Pickle has totally jumped on the bandwagon, and literally every day it's like, as he puts it, it's like Christmas every day with different memes and pictures that, every time UAP Toronto keeps on posting, we hammer him with these ugly feet pictures. And it's just one of those stupid things we do. It's for a good laugh.
Oh, yeah, I always find him humorous.
Yeah, man. It's good stuff. Let's see here. Who else we got here? We will take some audience questions as well. So if you're in our chat room on YouTube, do us a favor and put your questions in capital letters. It's easier for me to read. Old Davey here, because of the gray hair and beard, I got bad eyes now. So, don't age. Aging sucks. You know, I'm 48 going on like 96 right now. So just make sure you put your questions in capital letters. I'd really appreciate it. Gammons Productions, welcome to Spaced Out Radio. Appreciate you. Thank you so much. Right there. Yeah, man. We're having a good time here. Let's go here. I always like to support channels that come into our room. There you are. I'll hit subscribe on your channel there. There we go. All right, cool. Chad Jacobs, thank you so much for that awesome super chat, man. Really do appreciate it. Big thank you as well, not only to Chad, but to Dirt Road, Jeremy, Yancey, Sinister, and Rooted to Gorgeous Sacredness, and Nicola for the amazing super chats. Really do appreciate it. It's a great way to support what we do on a nightly basis, as we are here 7 nights a week for your listening and viewing entertainment. I realize Lynn on the weekend is much prettier than I am. You know, not by much, but, you know, she doesn't have the beard. And so that's kind of the way it works. But, yeah. And don't forget, one of our sponsors, if you ever want to piss off a Dutchman, you go to MightyMooseBeardOil.com, MightyMooseBeard.com, get some Mighty Moose Beard Oil, and use promo code SOR2019. Gary the Dutchman, it will grind his teeth because there's nothing more he hates than giving someone a deal, but it's the way we work it here, and it's real nice. This is my winter blend, my favorite. You just drop it into your hand like so. Oh, put a little more in there. And then you just massage it in. You just massage it in, right, like this. Look how nice that is. Gives it a nice sheen. You're smelling great. It's good for the follicles, but you still got some on your hands there. You can rub it through your gorgeous hair. Helps with split ends. It's all natural, no chemicals. And you can go to MightyMooseBeard.com, check it on out, and use promo code SOR2019 once again, you know, because there's nothing more that a Dutchman hates than having to not charge full price on something. And Gary gets mad at that, but that's okay. Stick it to Gary. Go to MightyMooseBeard.com. Say, I'm going to screw this Dutchman over. And use the promo code SOR2019 to get your fantastic beard oil. And grab yourself a hat or something while you're there, too. Gary's a good dude sometimes, except when you're talking money. So make sure you give him a good shot. Give him a good shot. So that way you can get your deal. Hi there, Shar. How are you? Good to see you. Thanks, Gary. Appreciate you, buddy. MightyMooseBeard.com, by the way. Go check it on out. Right there. There's Chad Smith put it on up. Thank you, Chad. Appreciate that. Hi, gorgeous Lynn Sows. Nice to have you back. I am wearing my pajamas right now, Lynn. Just so you know. And who else we got here? B. Hoff, good to see you. It is actually factual about the Dutch. It really is. Let's see here. Yeah, we're caught up. All right. 18 seconds till Swamp Dweller. Thank you to all the super chats. Thank you to all the veterans out there who tune into our show. We love you. You always have a safe home here on Spaced Out Radio. Hi, Gloria. You're looking gorgeous tonight. Here we go. Horns up. Here comes Bumblefoot.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Thanks to everyone tuning us in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America and digitally on TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, and KPNL. All of our archives are free by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Space Travelers Club. Keeve. Keeve is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram, Spaced Out Radio Show. We continue on tonight with the man from the swamp, Swamp Dweller himself. Almost 250,000 YouTube subscribers tuning in for his incredible creepypasta stories. You definitely want to go there. Hit that subscribe button as well. Ring the bell when it comes on. Swamp, welcome back to Spaced Out Radio, bud.
Thanks for having me on.
Not a problem. We'd love it when you're here. Love it. Let's continue on with some of your creepy stories here, man, because you literally have a section on your YouTube page, your homepage, that has something weird going on in each and every state. What is some of your favorite state stories?
Man, that's a good question. I don't really have a specific one that I can think of. I just thought it would be fun to cover stories from each state, and each one has surprised me. Like, I thought certain states would be crazier than others, but I'd probably say Ohio. There was a story of a abandoned mental hospital where they went and explored in, and they explored the whole thing in the daytime. They didn't see anybody there, and there was nothing that seemed dangerous. So they're like, okay, we should go, at nighttime where it'll be spooky and investigate and try to find ghosts and such. They get there at nighttime, and when they're in there, they continuously hear, like, it sounds like somebody's following them, and it sounds like somebody's making noise and stuff like that. And they don't see anything, and their lights aren't picking up anything, so they start getting freaked out and try to find their way out of this place. Every corner they go, they hear like somebody is literally running up on them, but when they shine their light there, there's nobody there. And this keeps on happening all the way until they get outside the door. And the moment they get outside the door, they can see at the door that they just jumped out of, in the darkness, there's an even darker darkness of a silhouette just standing there, looking like it's about 7 or 8 feet tall. This tall, skinny, emaciated, kind of weird man-looking thing. And it disappears in front of them. And that was a pretty memorable thing. Just reminded me of a good classic kind of, I went somewhere I shouldn't have, and there was something spooky there kind of story.
Man, from state to state, do the stories really differ, or does every state have their own cryptid creature that freaks people out?
Don't mind me, just sneaking out to go to Kohl's. The home deals right now, they're too good to pass up. Like up to 40% off Cuddle That's bedding, up to 50% off the cutest fall decor, and up to 25% off Ninja kitchen appliances. How can I resist? You can even get 15% off, or 15, 20, or 30% off with a Kohl's card. So yeah, I'm going all in for fall, and I can't even wait. Select styles. Offers end October 17th. Some exclusions apply. See store or Kohl's.com for details.
Fall is the season of gathering that brings us together with warmth and color. So whether it's a birthday, anniversary, or a special event, celebrate your friends and family with a gorgeous bouquet of roses from 1-800-Flowers.com. 1-800-Flowers makes it easy to brighten someone's day with 24 multicolored roses for just $39.99. To get 24 multicolored roses for just $39.99, visit 1-800-Flowers.com/tune-in. That's 1-800-Flowers.com/tune-in.
Folklore-wise, yeah, there's always going to be, specific creatures and lores to each area. Depending on what you're looking for, you're always going to find stories that are the same, but you'll always find those unique ones. New Jersey was interesting because I did notice that there were a few, New Jersey devil stories, and Texas was interesting because I did have a chupacabra story sent in for that. And, there's always interesting, like I said, I was very surprised on what states, what I got sent in and what I didn't get sent in. I thought a place like Arizona, I would be sent in much more skinwalker stories, since I get sent those a ton anyway. So when I requested Arizona, I thought that's what would happen. But actually, I got sent a ton more different supernatural, paranormal type things I didn't even know existed over in Arizona. So definitely surprising. And each place has their own, interesting little monsters going on.
Well, what were some of those monsters in Arizona that were catching you off guard?
Well, I was interested more in something that kind of reminds me of something from Mexican lore, which is like a buhag. And it's like this. It's kind of like a night hag from the kind of like sleep paralysis kind of encounters, where it's like this evil spirit that wants to terrorize you, steal your soul, steal your children, steal your youth, that kind of stuff. There's many variations of it, and I was very. I mean, I know there's a lot of Native Americans and reservations and stuff in Arizona, but I was surprised that a more Mexican centralized type thing would be in a spot like that. And there was another one I'm trying to think. It was kind of reminded me a lot of a banshee. And I was very taken aback that, in the middle of a desert, people would be encountering something similar to a banshee.
Wow. That is just freaky. Those banshee things, that scares me. I know you've heard Varla Ventura on our show once or twice, and she talks about these banshees. I don't want to ever run into one of those. Ever. That just freaks me out. What about missing time? You've had a lot of missing time stories that people say to have experienced, and they can't figure out what it is. What do you think's going on with missing time?
Man, that's a great question. I have no clue how to answer that. But, I mean, from all the stories I've been sent, from all the things I've read, from all the research I've done, all the interviews and documentaries and things that I've looked into, it seems like people are going into these pockets or these, inner dimensions. Something that's been mentioned in a story series that I've been reading recently is this guy who works in a fire lookout, and there's these doorways almost made out of trees. They're like archways that, like, similar to like what people say Bigfoot does, right? Where they bend these trees and such. And he notices every time he walks through these certain archways, he feels like suddenly he's in a different part of the park. He notices that he has tons of lost time, memory issues. It'll be like 10 a.m. He walks through this arch. Suddenly it's 6 p.m. and he's disoriented. He's dizzy. He has no idea where his day went. There are some medical issues that could be attributed to that. But a lot of these people who are, writing in these stories or encountering these things or being found in these weird circumstances, like, say a kid, a recent story that happened locally, a kid walks away from his parents for 2 seconds, and suddenly he disappears, and they spend 6 hours searching all over this place for this kid, can't find him. He walks out from a bush that was right next to them the entire time, like nothing had ever happened. He was completely clean, had no idea he had been gone for 6 hours. So it to me, it's one of those things. It's like it could be anything, right? But the pocket thing, since CERN exists, right? They're doing these weird things with CERN where they're opening portals or whatever they're doing, messing with atoms, molecules, all these strange things. If we know they can do things like that, what makes you think that this interdimensional thing might not be a thing? And maybe it's more natural than we think it is.
Yeah, I always wonder if they're walking into a different dimension or something along those lines, because I've heard stories of that as well, where people were like, I'm standing right beside you, and the other person's not even knowing where they are, and they're all panicked thinking that person is missing. So it just, this whole missing time thing, or these, I don't know, skips in time, just really make me nervous, man. Whether or not we're missing something true to the research, and I know it's being looked into, but how much it is or how real it is, we really don't know. So for you, when you look at missing time, we usually kind of coincide that with some sort of ET type encounter. You think it's happening more than just with extraterrestrials, then?
Oh yeah, I think it's. I think it's a mix of everything. I think it would be foolish to think that missing 401 and missing time and any of these type of things would be attributed to, just one thing, I think it has to be a mix of things. I think some people are simply getting lost. I think some people are succumbing to the elements. I think if you look at these interesting maps you can find online, if you see clusters of missing 411 cases, you can see that they all are clustered up around where American cave systems are. You can also, so I think some people are falling underground. Maybe there's some subterranean monsters under there too. I know that's a very popular thing. And then I think aliens could be a part of it too. Extraterrestrials. I think there could be a little bit of everything. I mean, is Bigfoot stealing people? Maybe, maybe not. But could you count it out? You can't, because there's just too many variables. I think it's just so many variables into one melting pot. It's just going to always be a case-by-case thing.
When it comes to aliens, a lot of times we get the stories of people missing time where it's, a couple of hours, maybe an hour, 2 hours, 4 hours. We don't hear those Travis Walton type of encounters where people are gone for days anymore. What do you think's going on there? We need a good Travis Walton case, gone for 5 days and coming back and, naked and can't find his clothes and everything's weird. I want another one of those.
I feel like sometimes stories like that come around, but I feel we're at a point to where most people are kind of not taking those types of stories too serious just because of how spectacular they are. And in my opinion, I think the way pop culture, social media, and just the movie industry in general has kind of polarized a lot of these figures. A lot of people don't really take something that could be very real, very traumatizing, and very very scary, I guess, just to one person and apply it to themselves because, we've been desensitized by all this media constantly going into your face saying, showing you the most extreme interpretation of what these things, could possibly be. And I think when people come out with these stories, they kind of get lost in that shuffle because it's another what a lot of people like to call ARG online. It's another alternate reality game. It's it's another thing to spook me out, another rabbit hole for me to go down. And I feel like that's kind of more what's happening these days than anything. It's just this desensitification of all this stuff because, when you didn't have the internet and you couldn't, and all you really relied on was your news or the TV or books and stuff, these kind of stories were a lot more impactful.
Absolutely. I totally agree. Do people really get scared anymore? Let's just face it. Does anything really creep people out with everything that we can find in video games or the internet or even Netflix anymore? It's just weird.
Yeah, exactly.
Who knows about that? But, oh man, I just had a question I wanted to ask you here in regards to missing time. Oh, here it is. Have you ever investigated or heard stories about people missing time or disappearing, going up these stairwells that happen to be in the middle of the forest? This is one thing that absolutely intrigues me because I don't know how I would react if here I am, walking through the British Columbia wilderness where I am, and all of a sudden come across this metal staircase going up into nowhere.
Yeah, I've read quite a few stories on that. I know the origin of it originally is a creepypasta, but there have been tons of stories sent in to me about these random staircases, whether they be cement, fancy wood ones, metal railing type ones. And in some cases, it seems like, they might have been left over from old, settlements. In some cases, or in other cases, they are more just kind of like they appear and then they're gone. There is an old story I remember reading very long time ago about a kid and his brother exploring the woods, and they find a set of stairs. It's this rustic, beautiful-looking set of stairs that you would love to see in your home, a beautiful Victorian set. And they're playing on it, but he gets a weird feeling about it, and he tells his brother to get off it and not go up, but his brother's not listening and keeps climbing up the stairs. And when his brother gets to the top stair, Suddenly, the stairs disappear and his brother disappears too. And they never see the kid again.
No kidding. Damn
Now,
stairs.
can I say that's true? I don't know, but it's a damn popular one that's been shared around for as long as I can remember.
See, I just couldn't do that. If I see one of them stairways, man, I am running the hell away. I am like going the opposite direction. I don't know why. I'll take a picture of it or something. But I am getting the hell out of there because I don't know what it is about these staircases. You know, I mean, how did we figure out that you're not supposed to go up them? How did we figure that out?
When the kid climbed up and disappeared.
Well, I know in this story, but even way before, because this whole stairway thing, it's centuries old.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I guess trial and error, right? I guess somebody at some point had to have found these stairs and somebody had to witness this happening, right? I mean, I don't know. I don't really, outside of the internet origin of these stories, I cannot really find a real origin like in folklore or in society of where this originated, but it would be interesting to know like the first ever sighting outside of the creepypasta or origination.
I like Julie's comment here. If I found pretty stairs in the woods, I would have my husband put them on the truck and bring them home.
That's something my girlfriend would make me do.
Yeah, that's why I'm glad I'm not handy. Totally. Swamp Dweller is on our show tonight on Spaced Out Radio, and of course from the ever-popular Swamp Dweller YouTube channel, which has nearly 250,000 subscribers to it that you're going to want to subscribe to if you love creepypasta the way I do. And, we're kind of going on this whole missing time thing, whether it's aliens or whether it's stairwells or whatever. Do you think a lot of the situations where people do disappear may not be actually leaving, but maybe entering different dimensions that have a bunch of different creatures and cryptids in it?
I do believe that some percentage of these cases do have that element to it. I do think there could be some sort of transdimensional travel going on. Maybe there are some sort of pockets. Maybe it's time travel. Maybe who knows what it is. Maybe it's some sort of timeline jump. I don't know if I go as far as saying, they're jumping to a place where these other creatures or beings exist. They're going somewhere. I don't know where they're going. I don't know what's there, but people are going somewhere, So I do believe that, though. I do think that is a variable. I think something's going on. I just couldn't tell you like what's going on when they get there, I hope it's something great. I hope it's not them popping into prehistoric Earth and T-Rexes chomping their legs off and stuff, but hopefully it's something better.
Speaking of dinosaurs, do you get a lot of reports and stories about, down in Texas, Louisiana, where these little mini dinosaurs of raptors and T-Rexes are running around?
Honestly, not one time have I ever gotten like a raptor story or anything, but I have gotten some stories in the past. There was a time where I got this. There was like a little bit of a rise of popularity of like these T-Rex sightings, and I think it was Arizona or Utah. And I got a story or two from that. There was I've been sent I guess you could call it a dinosaur story in the past of like a pterodactyl type thing. Maybe you could kind of attribute it to a thunderbird maybe. And I have been sent a few things from the Congo, the Melaleuca, Mokelemembe, stuff like that. But never like the weird little tiny raptor things from Louisiana and stuff like that. I don't know. I think the strangest thing I've ever been sent cryptid-wise is probably an Oklahoma octopus story.
Oh, fill us in on that.
It's one of the weirdest stories I've ever encountered, and one of my favorite ones I used to look into when I was younger is the Oklahoma octopus. And apparently there's a lake in Oklahoma. Can't remember the name of it right now, but and there's this this kraken beast that was, attacking people, basically. These tentacles were coming and dragging people down and drowning them and such. And so they had this octopus beast in this lake. And there was a story that was sent that blew my mind, because I never thought I'd get a story on this particular beast, And apparently they were swimming with their friends one day, and it felt like something was tickling their feet. And, that's my worst fear. That's why I hate swimming in water you can't see. The freaking seaweed or whatever's touching your feet, hell no. But, so they're trying to swim back to shore because they're like, yeah, this is kind of strange, because it didn't feel like grass because there wasn't any other grass around. And they were pretty deep, they couldn't touch the ground. So they would have to be in a more shallow area to even feel any grass or any plant stuff. So they start freaking out a bit, and they start moving because they think maybe they're touching fish or something. Eventually, one of the kids gets pulled under. It's like a quick splash. It doesn't even get us to yelp, and they don't notice at first until they get to the place the bank that they're at, and they turn around and they notice there's some splashing behind them, and they see their friend struggling barely with just his hands above the water trying to get up. So they go back and swim, and they start pulling him. And when they pull him, they notice there's something pulling him back. So at first they have no idea what's happening. They don't know if he's stuck on something, if something's bitten him. There are no alligators here. There's nothing like that. So they're completely, taken aback at to what could be doing this. And as they get him closer to the thing, they can see what looks like to be a tentacle wrapped around his foot. And they start punching at this thing, kicking at it, scratching at it, and all that. And eventually it lets go, and they never see this thing. They just see the tentacle. It recedes into the water, and they take him out. And he has these really bad, like, cut-up marks of what it looks like, the suckers gripping onto him. And that's just one of the most interesting stories that I've ever been sent, just because, like, this is a cryptid that was so sparsely seen. It's a lot like the Flatwoods Monster, It's something that was so concentrated that you'd never think that somebody would actually have a story to send in about that.
Well, I can just say that I now will mark all lakes in Oklahoma off my list because of killer octopus. So now the ocean is out, any lake with sea monsters is out, and now lakes in Oklahoma are out. So I appreciate that warning. I really do.
Oh, yeah. Definitely watch out. Oklahoma, nice people, a lot of cool stuff to see, a lot of good food, but stay away from the lakes.
Yeah, no kidding. No kidding. We got about 45 seconds to go here, before we move on to our commercials at the bottom of the hour here. But for you, I mean, just hearing the excitement in your voice talk about these topics, I mean, you have a lot of fun with what you're doing.
Oh yeah, I enjoy it. I mean, I honestly don't think I could do this for as much as I do for as long as I've done it if I didn't enjoy this, like, to my core. I'm just naturally the type of person, if I have no interest in something, I literally cannot focus on it. If it's like a really bad trait of mine, but honestly, if it was to a point to where, like, if it ever gets to a point to where I stop enjoying this kind of stuff, I would probably just stop doing YouTube altogether.
Well, let's hope that never happens, because everybody seems to very much enjoy what you are doing with the swamp. Swamp Dwellers here. We're going to continue on with spooky stories right through the next hour. Find his YouTube channel at youtube.com/Swamp Dweller. Join the minions like me who go to bed creeped out each and every night with his creepy pasta. Space Out Radio continues after this. All right, brother, we are clear for right now for 5 minutes here.
Awesome.
Thank you again, Maria, for a second super chat there. Appreciate that.
Maria's killing it. Thank you so much, Maria.
It's awesome, man. Are you a hot sauce guy?
Oh, yeah, I am. Something I do on my live streams is we do these challenges. Sometimes we do them for charity. Sometimes we just do them because I hate myself. But we eat hot peppers. We'll do the world's hottest hot sauces and all kinds of stuff. I actually work with a local company And we produce our own hot chips and our own hot sauce flavors as well. And we have our own little thing going there.
You totally have my mouth watering right now, man.
Well, I'll definitely send you some.
Check this out. See that shelf right there, the bottom shelf?
Oh, yeah.
That's all hot sauce bottles, and I got another 25 upstairs in my fridge.
Oh, yeah. I've got a bunch. I'll send you some stuff that we have. We've got... My sauces aren't necessarily the hottest stuff out there, but I mainly go for flavor and heat. So something that, you get that nice heat, but you also get a nice flavor. So you're not like, oh my God, this is like, stinging my mouth, but you can get a little bit of the best of both worlds.
You got to try out my music guy Bumblefoot's Bumblefucked hot sauce, man.
Oh, I'd love to do that. That'd be great.
It's, I think, 4.2 million Scoville units.
Oh, that's brutal. I did,
I know.
I did something that was very close to that recently. It was like some Mad Dog something that was just insane, and it literally didn't even taste like anything. It just felt like an instant sting. It felt like I got shot basically on the tongue.
Yep.
It's like pop. It's like, oh, this sucks. This just sucks. It has no flavor. It just sucks.
Introducing Peacock, the new free streaming service from NBC Universal. It's hit movies, current shows, live sports, trending bits, and timeless hits. And that's why you can't not watch. Peacock. Watch for free. Upgrade for more. Stream now at peacocktv.com. Law & Order SVU streaming now.
We know a 3-digit number doesn't tell your story. That's why every Progressive Leasing approval is no credit needed. Shop your favorite stores with Progressive Leasing to get what you need, such as furniture, laptops, headphones, jewelry, mobile phones, appliances, mattresses, and more. Progressive Leasing obtains information from credit bureaus. Not all applicants are approved. Progressive Leasing offers lease-to-own purchase options. Acquiring ownership by leasing costs more than the retailer's cash price. Visit progleasing.com to get started today.
I got a bottle. There's a place just south of me, about 45 minutes, that sells brutal hot sauce. And I've got I haven't opened up the ghost pepper one yet because I got a little intimidated by the wax seal. And I think I may crack that open this weekend.
That'd be fun.
Yeah, I may crack that open.
This next one I have is this shot-sized one, but it's got the wax seal on it. And it's one of the world's hottest hot sauces, and I'm going to do it. I'm probably going to chug the whole thing on the next stream, and it's going to be very, very brutal.
Chug it?
Oh, yeah.
Are you crazy?
Oh, I am absolutely insane. I probably will not have a stomach by the time I'm 30, but, I'm here for a good time, not a long time.
God bless you. God bless you. Yeah, I will wave your flag proudly, my friend. I will wave it.
Chad Smith will keep my name going. Good to see you, Miss Creepy Tales.
Yes, Miss Creepy Tales. Let's see what her channel's like.
Another friend of the swamp.
Oh, let's see what her channel's like.
She's from across the ocean there over in Thailand, something like that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she's got a great voice, but I think people would definitely enjoy her channel.
You know what? She's in our room. We'll hit subscribe on her channel right now just because it's the polite thing to do. So, boom. Just like that. Hi, Miss Creepy Tales. Big thank you to Gray0601 for the super chat. We really do appreciate the support. Thank you to Maria ×2, TMI, Chad Jacobs, Dirt Road, Jeremy, Yancey, Sinister, Rooted in Gorgeous Sacredness, and Nicola for the awesome super chats. We really do appreciate the love and support here for what we are doing tonight and our great show that we are having with Swamp Dweller. We're going to get going here probably in another, just over a minute, and really appreciate that. God, where do I find this hot sauce thing? Is it on Swamp Dweller or is it on Swamped?
Normally they're on the live streams. I don't keep those up, but I do have some. I have some clips I can send you in private.
I'm ringing the bell here because I want to see some of this shit, man. I want to see that.
Oh yeah, definitely. I'll definitely let you know next time I'm going to do one of those because it gets pretty wild. You think the fans would love me enough to not put me through 2 to 3 hours of straight brutality, but you know what? They make it happen every single time.
Out there somewhere is a video of me doing the Pocky's one chip challenge on the air.
Oh man,
that was dumb. I went through a gallon of chocolate milk. My mouth was still burning.
I did 6 of those at the same time.
Oh, why, you dirty bastard?
Because that's what the stream wanted me to do.
Oh my God. Okay, well, Chad Smith, thank you so much for that super chat, buddy. Really do appreciate that. You can get your Chad Smith t-shirt in our store. All right, here we go. We passed the halfway point of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate earning your listening ears. Want to remind you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives. Go to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram, Spaced Out Radio Show. We continue on with The Swamp tonight, where Swamp Dweller is with us, one of the top creepypasta YouTube channels going right now, and he's got almost 250,000 subscribers. We ask that you all go on over to youtube.com/Swamp Dweller and check it on out. I literally go to sleep every night listening to his spooky stories. I am that much of a fan, and the fact that he is also a fan of this show just makes it all the better. Swamp Dweller, welcome back.
It's good to be here, my friend. Thanks for having me.
Not a problem. Now, during the break for our radio audience, they didn't hear this. You have a major addiction to hot sauce.
Oh yeah, I'm a hothead, as they call them.
What's the hottest Scoville unit hot sauce you've tried?
As I was telling you, I cannot remember the name of it. It's Mad Dog something, but it's like 4 million Scovilles.
I haven't gone that hot yet. I haven't. 1.5 is my hottest.
It's absolutely terrible. When you're going that high, you're not doing it for flavor. You're not doing it to put it on your food. You're just doing it to be a masochist. Like, you're just doing it to be sad or just to experience what it's like to be shot in the face.
See, I did the Pocky One Chip Challenge, which was 1.9 million Scoville units, because I didn't think 1.5 was hot enough. And that damn near wrecked me.
Oh man, it's terrible the next day too when you wake up in the morning and you're like, and you forget what you did the night before, and then it's just like a flamethrower.
In every direction, in every orifice. It hurts. People don't understand.
Yes,
why do you do it to yourself, man?
Honestly, I've always loved spicy stuff. I've always been a fan. It just started with like the basic hot wings, and I just love hot chips, and it kind of runs in the family. I know a lot of my family members love their hot sauce, and it wasn't really anything until the past couple of years. I really started getting into food, and really started getting into different cultures and to different types of things, and Thai food became a big part of my life, and Mexican food and South American stuff, and a lot of spices, a lot of different sauces. So I just kind of slowly got into it, and I started doing these charity things, and I started off with drinking, and I would do a lot of shots and stuff like that, and I said, like, this is really unhealthy. Shave my liver, hopefully save my voice for you guys. So I was like, instead of doing something like that, let's try something a little healthier, and what's better than the super veggies of peppers, with all the vitamins they carry, right? So I started doing habaneros, and then I started going up from there, and I've done scorpion peppers, I've done ghost peppers, I've done Carolina Reapers, I've done 4 million Scoville hot sauce, I've done 6 Pocky One Chip Challenge chips at the same time. I've done it all. There is no real reason outside of the fans just seem to like it. It's a fun time, and I don't know, it just sets me apart from everybody else, right? I mean, Who else do you know tell scary stories and blast their face off with hot stuff?
All I know is that I got 8 Carolina Reapers sitting upstairs in my cupboard right now, and I haven't opened the package yet, and I'm looking forward to it.
Oh, it's going to be great.
Looking forward to it. But yeah, man, if we ever meet, man, we got to go do some hot wings.
Oh, definitely.
All right, Ann actually has a question for you. Do you catch a buzz from the endorphins released?
Sometimes, yeah. I have definitely been like, oh, all right, I'm a little lightheaded here. And be like, all right, I've definitely caught a little bit of a buzz, I guess you could say, for sure.
Wonderful. I have to promote Bumblefoot Hot Sauce because Ron Bumblefoot Thal, formerly of Guns N' Roses, who does all of our music, currently of Sons of Apollo, he's got some hot sauce out. I do have to recommend you do that, especially his 4.2 million Scoville unit Bumble Effed. I can't say the word on the air because the radio audience wouldn't like that. You know, at least the boss is in there. But you got to try that one.
I'll definitely give her a go.
All right, let's get back into these spooky stories, my friend, because one of the topics we talk a lot about on this show is aliens and UFOs. What is some of the creepiest alien stories that have come across your email?
I'd probably have to say there have been a few from, I'm not sure if it's the same person, but these stories are so similar, it might be from the same person, of the stories of when people are seeing them in their dreams, and they can't tell if they're actually dreaming or if they're being abducted. And I've been sent a few stories like that, and it always reminds me of that movie, The Fourth Kind. I've never seen it. And I'd probably say that movie and Signs is what like initially sparked my interest in this type of stuff anyway when it comes to like UFOs and aliens. And anytime I get a story that reminds me of those movies, it really sparks me to want to, do a video like that. But I have to say this particular story of this guy who was living in Alaska. Of course it's Alaska. And he was in a remote city. I think it's Juneau or something like that. And he was constantly having these dreams of just these white glowing eyes from the bushes looking at him anytime he would go out for a walk with his dog at night before bed. And for the longest time, he would wake up and he'd just be inside of his house, just inside his house. Like, imagine you walk into your house and then you wake up the next morning and you were asleep right where you walked in. And that's where he would kept waking up. So for the longest time, he thought this was a dream, and he was like, okay, this is weird. Maybe I'm just sleepwalking. I'm not sure what's happening. But so he buys these cameras. I think they're called Blink cameras or something off Amazon. He sets them up around his house, and he starts recording at night. And he notices that he's never even, like when he's coming home from work, the farthest he even gets after coming home is getting his dog on the leash and walking out the front door. He never goes to bed. He wakes, and these cameras catch him walking in several hours later, like 6-7 hours later. Then he comes on the floor, passes out, and wakes up 5-10 minutes later.
Wow!
So that's probably one of my favorite ones, and I'm not entirely sure if you could say that is, alien related, but to me, that's always just struck me as something very paranormal. It kind of seems like he's being abducted or something.
It does seem like he's abducted. And, I mean, the fact that, you hear also these stories, Swamp, about people who get abducted and come back with other people's clothing on. Have you ever had any of those stories?
Actually, yeah, not too terribly long ago. I don't know if I put this in a video or not. I may have. I just remember reading it in the email, and it was a story similar to what you just said. A man, he's driving his truck. I can't remember if he's in. I think it's Congaree National Park. I think that's in South Carolina, and he's just driving through trying to get home after work. And it's probably about midnight, maybe 1 a.m., and he sees this bright white light off in the distance. And, at first he thinks, maybe it's just a semi-truck far out because they have, pretty bright lights. And it's super foggy out, so he's like, tends to have this bright light out. But as he gets closer to it, he notices that this light hasn't moved. It's been hovering in the same spot, and it's just one big bright light. And what's weird about this light, though, is it's not like a circle like most people would see it. It's like a diamond. You know, it's like a perfect diamond. And it's not like most lights, you know, where they're blaring kind of a light and it kind of looks like it's waving almost, right? This is a solid diamond. And it's more of like, the way this guy describes it, it's not like it's giving off light more than it is the light. I don't know, it's hard to explain. But he starts driving further and further and getting closer and closer to this thing. Once he gets close enough to where he's probably maybe 100 meters or so away from this thing starts changing colors all of a sudden. Like it goes from like white to green to blue to red, you know, just everything. And it's flashing like super quickly, and it starts like rotating lights around it. Like these lights start rotating around it almost. And he starts noticing that this thing starts becoming a shape, and it goes from this diamond to this more 3D geometrical type shape. And he sees what he notices like a window open up or something. And then suddenly all he remembers is waking up in his car in a completely different part of the Congaree National Park in like what he describes as like a janitor's uniform. Something that he would never wear because he worked in a bank as, you know, a bank teller. So he would wear, you know, nice pants, you know, that kind of stuff, you know, business attire. And that's the only story I can ever think of where somebody sent me in something where they were abducted. And obviously I'm making the story much more brief than it actually was. But that's the only story I can think of that matches what you're saying.
Wow. Could you imagine, you know, you go to bed, you're in your favorite pajamas, and the next thing you know, you wake up in the morning and you're thinking you had a bad dream, and here you are wearing a janitor's outfit? I mean, that's just crazy.
And what gets me about these stories is that, like, especially the truck one, right? You're in your truck driving, and it kind of... Hopefully many people don't have this experience, but if you've ever been, like, blackout drunk and you drive and you wake up the next morning, you're like, how the heck did I get home? It's like, that's exactly how I feel like it would feel to people. You know, you're driving home, you're sober of mind, you're minding your own business, you see something strange, and then suddenly you wake up the next day, it's bright out, birds are chirping, the world is beautiful, but you have no idea how you are parked in this random place and have no memory of anything that happened.
I don't get it.
To me, it's just this creepiest thing ever.
It is creepy and scary. I mean, I just don't know what I would do with that, man. I really don't. What about different types of alien beings? I mean, we always hear the stories about the Greys, whether it's the 4-footers, the 5-footers, the 6-footers. You know, what about creepy, weird aliens that we don't understand?
Now, I don't necessarily, like, this is one of, like, the lesser topics that I get really sent stuff on. So I don't have, like, endless stories on, like, weird aliens per se, but I do get sent stories all the time of things that do sound like aliens that don't really match any cryptids that I know of when I do my research. So there are lots of weird type, like, Greys type sightings that I get sent. There's these I don't really know what to call them. I call them Ashmen a lot of the time. It's what Sam White Owl has been calling them as well. The Pale Men, some people call them. They're kind of remind me of what the creepypasta monster, the Rake, in a sense. You know, these emaciated type beings that resemble humanoids or humans in a sense, but they just look completely gaunt, completely pale, completely lifeless, almost like they're a husk. And they quite often speak telepathically, and sometimes they even have interesting, like, jewelry and such on, or, you know, things that, like, one that I'm thinking of in my head right now is the story of this being it's like 6 foot tall. It's this skinny, gaunt, emaciated looking human with a bulbous head with, like, pits for eyes, but on its bulbous head it has this gold emblem on it. Stuff like that, weird things that don't necessarily fit cryptids, but, you know, aren't outright being claimed as an alien.
That is just weird. Weird. All right, let's continue on here. I thought we'd have more audience questions, but we don't right now. Everybody's just too hopped up in listening to what you have to say, which is actually kind of cool as well. But continuing on with your horror stories that you have here, you've done a lot with deep woods and people seeing things, whether they're hiking or camping in the deep woods and getting freaked out in the middle of the night. Is there a story that sticks out for you that you'd love to share about people getting chased down in the middle of the forest at night?
When I was 15 years old, I lived in a cabin that was built in 1802. I used to go follow this dried creek bed all the time with my dog. His name was New Guy, cool guy. He's a new guy, obviously. And we would go explore up this creek bed. One day we went further than we normally did. And, New Guy is like the nicest dog ever. Super sweet, never harm a fly. He started acting weird, and so I was paying attention to that, but he still kept going forward, so we kept exploring. After a few minutes of him starting to be a little bit more alert and stuff, I started hearing like weird noises. It almost sounded like chanting, almost sounded like people saying the same thing over and over and over again. And I was like, okay, this is strange. And as we got closer, probably maybe about 100 feet away from a clearing, I noticed that my dog has stopped walking and is starting to growl very quietly, and his hair is like standing up. So I walk a few more feet forward, and then I notice that there's a bunch of people standing in this clearing with this fire going on in the middle. I can't tell exactly what they're burning, and they're wearing these weird dark red velvety looking robes, almost reminiscent of what you might see the KKK wearing. Something similar to that, except they don't have like ghost robes or whatever. It's just more of like actual like robes, but they're like velvety and weird looking, something you might see some sketchy dark arts people wearing, and it was strange because I remember like kind of trying to sneak around and be, see what's happening, and they're chanting something, and then suddenly I remember tripping because I'm clumsy as hell, and I make a bunch of noise, and my dog starts barking, and these people look at me, and they yell something at me. I can only imagine they're saying, "Who's that?" or "Get that person," or whatever it is, so I start hauling my little butt back, and me and my dog run probably at least 1.5 miles or more away from this spot all the way back to my house, lock the doors, and luckily I don't think anybody ever chased me, but that's one that just off the top of my head that, deep woods exploration, definitely a story that was pretty creepy because I to this day have no idea what the heck I witnessed there. Was it some sort of ceremony? Was it what was that? I have no idea.
I have no idea. All you do is run and hope that the moonlight can light the trail so you don't have to tip them off to your flashlight.
Oh, no. Definitely.
Definitely. I mean, that's just creepy, man. That is just absolutely creepy. Swamp Dweller is here. We got another 6 minutes to go before we have to go to break here at the top of the hour. And I want to get into Ouija boards, man. You've done some creepy stuff on Ouija boards. Before we get into stories, what's your thoughts on this thing?
I don't know. Personally, I think Ouija boards are interesting. I think it more has something to do with intent and energy than, the board itself. Like, my girlfriend has a really cool vintage one that's in our room, and
We know a 3-digit number doesn't tell your story. That's why every Progressive Leasing approval is no credit needed. Shop your favorite stores with Progressive Leasing to get what you need, such as furniture, laptops, headphones, jewelry, mobile phones, appliances, mattresses, and more. Progressive Leasing obtains information from credit bureaus. Not all applicants are approved. Progressive Leasing offers lease-to-own purchase options. Acquiring ownership by leasing costs more than the retailer's cash price. Visit ProgLeasing.com to get started today. We know a 3-digit number doesn't tell your story. That's why every Progressive Leasing approval is no credit needed. Shop your favorite stores with Progressive Leasing to get what you need, such as furniture, laptops, headphones, jewelry, mobile phones, appliances, mattresses, and more. Progressive Leasing obtains information from credit bureaus. Not all applicants are approved. Progressive Leasing offers lease-to-own purchase options. Acquiring ownership by leasing costs more than the retailer's cash price. Visit ProgLeasing.com to get started today.
I've never had any weird, creepy things with it, but I also would never play with the Ouija board. But I think that it is a tool that can be used, and if used correctly, can be used to contact certain entities, whether they be of demonic nature or of something else. But I don't necessarily think you can use the Ouija board to speak to spirits, at least not from what my understanding and research has been.
Okay. So with that, what are some of the creepy stories you have got from listeners on Swamp Dweller YouTube channel about Ouija boards?
Oh, man, tons. Those are some of my favorite ones to do, even though I don't get to do them often. All kinds of stuff. A quick one off the top of my head is a girl that played with the Ouija board, didn't say goodbye correctly, and kind of didn't take it seriously at all, started experiencing tons of terrible luck. Pets dying, friends not talking to her anymore, family members getting into terrible accidents, and even to a point to where she caught cancer herself, and even eventually would only be cured after she allegedly, I guess, closed this session and turned to God and such like that. And there's other stories where a father walks into the room. This actually was in the most recent episode I did in these stories. Father walks into the room finding his children who are having a sleepover playing with this homemade Ouija board. He takes it, he throws it away outside, and thinks it's over with. Little did he know, they never said goodbye, they never ended the session, nothing like that. So the house starts having all this weird activity, almost poltergeist-like activity. And the dad's going crazy, has no idea what to do, and he's trying to figure out how he can make this stop. And then one day he goes into the garage, and sitting there on the shelf, right to where he could see it, even though he'd looked in this spot many times over the past few months, is that same Ouija board that he had thrown away. So he tries to burn it, and he watches it burn, and he's like, okay, this is finally over. Little does he know that's a bad idea. Things get even worse. Things are being moved, doors are being slammed, voices are being heard, and even to a point to where his son, his 5 or 6 year old son, was even possessed, or what he thought was possessed. And it basically ends with him finding this Ouija board again under his bed with a little bit of charredness on the edges. And what he eventually does is he has a Catholic priest come in and bless the house and remove the board and such like that. And there's just tons like that. There are a dime a dozen when it comes to that kind of thing. It's always kind of very similar. But like I went back to earlier, almost every single story is a demonic encounter of some sort, or something evil, something that is trying to trick you, gain something from you, make you do something, give it some sort of power. So it doesn't really sound like spirits, and it depends, what form of demonology you follow, if you're a part of the old school form or the new school wave of things, to where some people only think that you're only talking to demons on these boards.
Right. Absolutely. And thank you for sharing that. We're going to get to some audience questions here, and we got about 2 minutes to go. We'll start off with Jules, and we'll continue audience questions after the top of the hour break. Jules is wondering, what's the most creepy tale you have ever heard?
That's a hard one to say, but I can say one of the creepier ones that come to mind is the Enfield Horror, which is during the early 70s, there was this unknown monster that was stalking Enfield, Illinois. This thing briefly chased and scared people, and even allegedly killed people and livestock and such. And it kind of was one of those things, like I mentioned earlier, where they were so concentrated, it happened in such a short span of time that nobody ever really figured out what it was. But there was a string of sightings in the 40s, the early 40s, like 40, 41, of similar things in Mount Vernon with a beast that was called the Mount Vernon monsters. And I'd probably say those are some of the creepiest ones because they were never solved, and there's actual proof and dead people from those encounters.
Wow. And we'll sneak in another one here quickly with about a minute to go. Super Quest is asking, what do you think of Black Eyed Kid stories? You got any?
I've done a few videos on them. Some of my all-time favorite stories, just because they're classics, and what's a good one off the top of my head? One that I think a lot of people might know of, it's a very famous one, is these two kids. One's younger, one's older, and they knock on this guy's door. The guy opens the door, and they keep asking to come in, and he's like, no, I'm not going to let you come in. And they eventually say, well, can we at least use your phone to call our mom to get a ride home? And he says, yes, but you can't come in. I'll bring it to you. So he turns around, he closes the screen door, and he goes to walk to bring the phone. What's weird about this encounter and a lot of these encounters is these black-eyed kids can't seem to come inside unless they're invited, very similar to a vampire.
Hold that thought. We'll continue with that story when we come back. Black-eyed kids and other questions from our audience. We got the Swamp Dweller for another 30 minutes here on Spaced Out Radio. We continue with the mighty SOR, Hour 3 next. Sorry about that, brother.
Yeah, no problem.
We'll continue with that Black-eyed Kid story when we come back.
Sounds good.
Yeah, man. It was a good night. Let's see here. Appreciate you staying up late for us.
Yeah, anytime. It's always fun being on here. Stay up late sometimes. Good for you.
Well, our audience gets geeked, man, when you come into our chat room. I can tell you that, if you haven't noticed.
Oh yeah, sometimes you guys usually go live around the time I'm jumping into bed, so I'll usually jump in for a few minutes and meme around with you guys.
Yeah, I appreciate that. That's awesome. You know. But anything exciting coming up for the channel here soon?
There's a lot of new stuff coming. Interesting developments. Got this really cool, creepy history type thing coming up. Trying to start that back up. Hopefully, I can be consistent with that. Just trying to do different things that you're not going to find in other channels that are similar.
That's the key, right?
Yeah, I'd say so.
Absolutely. Let me see here.
Yeah, it looks like a good crowd tonight.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we're...
Very lively bunch.
They were pumped up for you, my friend. They were pumped up for you.
I'm glad they enjoy me on here, that's for sure.
Well, you know, hey, I think that's a good sign. You put out you're an incredible storyteller. You put out a friggin' amazing product, and I know I'm addicted. That's for sure.
Yeah, do my best, and always trying to be better. That's for sure.
It is hard because do you ever find that that you just get stuck on trying to find different angles that you just haven't done before?
Yeah, sometimes. There's always like things that I'm looking at. I'm like, man, I need to change that up, or how can I make this different, or what can I do that's new and fresh?
That's what we're always trying to do. Figure out what we can do to kind of get those, how can we put it? Those strange, videos that will, obviously we're more of like a woo news type network. So we're trying to break them into sections here on ours.
Definitely. I think the more diversity in your content, the better overall. But I do have to say, Aris in the chat is trying to slander my name here by saying I'm a Buccaneers fan.
Uh-oh.
I'm a Buccaneers fan by association. I'm a Kansas City fan at heart. Okay? I just live in the area, fam. Don't be slandering my name like that.
Gee whiz.
I'm just kidding.
Just drops it. Just boom, just like that. Like no,
just drop the mic. No.
Like no sympathy or empathy, anything like that, right?
No. Eris is great. Always see him in the comments everywhere I go. So, or them, I should say. Shouldn't be assuming genders out here.
I'm learning that as well. Let's see here.
Bandwagon elite, get out of here, Jeremy. I was a fan of the Chiefs when we had Smith out there killing it, and then poor man's leg.
See, I almost started cheering for the Cleveland Browns because their quarterback Baker Mayfield had a big UFO sighting that he put all over Twitter earlier this year. Him and his wife had it.
Oh, yeah.
So,
I've always been more of an underdog fan. I'm more of a fan of the sport more than, like, particular teams. You know, like you say, I'm a bandwagoner. In some senses, sure, like, I'm going to go for whatever team I like, I guess, ultimately. But to be fair, I was a Kansas City fan when Kansas City sucked. So it feels nice that they're not sucking anymore. It's like, at one time, I know what it felt like to be a Lions fan, basically.
Boy, there's a team that just cannot get it together.
Yeah, what a team. I'm happy for Stafford, though, over in LA now. Doing good. Feels good. Anyways, boring in the chat, probably.
That's all right. I always have time to talk sports, man. I'm a former sports broadcaster, so...
Oh, nice.
Yeah, man. I worked for a real dink. And I had, before I got into journalism and sports, I was a hockey instructor. And one of the players I trained, it was going to be his first game in Vancouver. And my boss switched shifts on me just because he knew it would piss me off.
Oh my God, dude. I don't even know what I would do.
Oh, I flipped out. 1 second here. We got about 15 seconds. Thank you to all the super chatters who are really supporting this show tonight. Thank you to all the veterans out there hanging out with us. We love you. You always have a safe home here on Spaced Out Radio, and all the regulars, we thank you for joining us. Here we go.
Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Kicking off the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for joining us. We really do appreciate it. Want to say hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Go to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Kiev. Kiev is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot. Check out our swag. Read up on Shirky Poo's Newswire, and so much more. For the final time tonight, the man from the swamp, Swamp Dweller, is with us. Check out his YouTube channel, youtube.com/Swamp Dweller. He's pushing on 250,000 subscribers that he hopes to hit by the end of the year. We want our audience to help out on that, and we're going to get into some audience questions here. And right before the break, Swamp Dweller, you were talking about black-eyed kids trying to get the phone from a gentleman so they could call their parents.
I guess as we left off, I was saying they're kind of like vampires in a sense. They have to be invited in, and they try very, very hard to be invited in. And this gentleman was not having it, so he said, "You guys stay here." He closes his screen door and walks to go get his house phone. When he comes back, he notices that they're getting a little impatient, and they don't want to take the phone and use it out there. They keep asking, "Can we just use it inside? Come on, mister, just let us inside." This is where things get a little weird, and things start to break that normal mold of what black-eyed kids sightings normally are. Instead of asking for permission, the youngest boy is starting to move his arm slowly towards the handle of the door to open it himself. And the man notices this, so he freaks out, runs to the door. While doing this, he trips and stumbles, falls into it. It opens, and he falls outside into these kids. These kids reach down, simply touch him on the shoulder, and he passes out. When he wakes up, he's in the hospital, and he now has cancer, and he potentially is going to die in just a few days. And after that, he blamed it on this encounter with these black-eyed kids. And there's just tons and tons of stories very similar to that of people touching these black-eyed kids, people trying to help them. There's another story of a woman who let them in the house to use the phone because her phone was on a cord, because this is before cell phones and wireless phones were prominent. And when they get in there, they don't know exactly, I don't remember exactly what happens, but she touches them something, and the same thing happens. Like, she passes out, but when she wakes up, she has these ailments, these terrible happenings to her. And her husband had like this elephantitis. He wasn't even in the room when this happened, and like his foot is like 6 or 7 times the size how it normally should be. And he dies from that a few days later, and she blames that on the encounter with the black-eyed kids.
Wow. That is creepy, man. Let's get to Viv the King Viv, who is asking, what's your opinion, Swamp Dweller, on safety in a place becoming populated that's back to a national forest?
Well, I would say, the basics, obviously, make sure you are familiar with your area, make sure you have, your phone, your GPS trackers on, all that good stuff. And make sure you tell people where you're going, and make sure people are aware of where you're going, first and foremost. And if you are going in areas that are known to have, high amounts of, say, missing 401 cases, or, just strange phenomena in general, just be very mindful and very respectful of the area. In my opinion, I think nature is a very give and take type of thing. And it can take when it wants, but if you are respectful, normally you should be fine. And biggest thing is just don't take on anything you're not comfortable doing. Don't do something that you don't have experience doing. Don't go off trail if you have no idea where you're going and have any experience of what you may encounter. And first and foremost, if you do encounter something like a dogman or a Bigfoot or anything, whether it even just be a mountain lion, a bear, anything, stay calm, don't turn your back, and don't run.
Right on. Good advice. Good advice. Following it up with Nicola, do you ever get a police department or an alphabet agency contacting you?
Not very often, but I do have 2 instances where people did contact me about stories that were shared on the channel. And I do have a couple of instances when it came to like crime and stuff like that, to where, I was contacted or reached out myself to agencies. But the 2 times that I was contacted about stories that were shared were actually very interesting stories that they were interested in. There is one story that was sent in by somebody who was living in an area actually not too far from where I grew up in Florida, about a story, I think it was like a skunk ape type thing. But it actually was interesting to these local investigators, because there was actually an illegal, I guess, chimp fighting ring or something like this happening in this area. And they were actually interested in this story because they thought it might be linked to these chimps that were released into the wild recently in that area. And I thought that was interesting. And then there was another one about a missing 411 type story, about the ones I think I told you earlier about the staircase with the boy going missing. And that one I'm still a little sketched on. I'm not entirely sure how legit that one was, but I got a call from a federal bureau, a state bureau of investigation. And they were asking me very strange questions about these stairs, if I know anything about them, if I've been there, if I could take somebody there. And I just simply told them, what I told you. I mean, these are stories people send me. I've never been to this location, and unfortunately, I can't help you outside of telling you or copy and pasting you the story. And I wouldn't even go as far as giving them the email to that person, just because I don't. It's just a little weird to me, and I like to respect the privacy of people. And if they are a Federal Bureau of Investigation of some sort, they could figure out how to contact these people, I'm sure.
Very true, very true. Alicia was asking about the random stairs in the middle of the forest. Alicia, we talked about that about an hour ago into the program, so you'll have to rewind to hear that. And let's move on here. Dirty Filth is asking, has Swamp Dweller ever heard any stories from the Headless Valley?
I'm not sure, honestly. It's a name that sounds familiar to me, but off the top of my head, it's not something that I have anything sparking.
Yeah, there's this. It's the Nahanni Valley in the Northwest Territories here in British Columbia, or in Canada, where apparently back in the 1930s, a bunch of explorers went in there to check out the area, and I think a couple of them got away, but they said there was this monster ripping the heads off of people here. So, just kind of creepy, So,
I'll definitely look into that.
Yeah, so it's hard to find somebody to interview about that. Really hard.
It's a very specific thing for sure.
Hugely. B. Hoff is asking, any stories of overly large insect or insect creatures?
Maybe 3 that I can think of, but the only one that I can remember details on, it was very early on. It was actually a series that I haven't done in probably 4 years now.
With over 30,000 partner retail locations nationwide, Progressive Leasing has helped more than 7 million people with imperfect credit get the things they need. With Progressive Leasing, you can enjoy convenient, flexible lease-to-own purchase options on furniture, laptops, headphones, jewelry, mobile phones, appliances, mattresses, and more. Get what you need when you need it. Progressive Leasing offers lease-to-own purchase options, acquiring ownership by leasing costs more than the retailer's cash price. Visit progleasing.com to get started today.
Now, I used to do this humanoid encounter series, and there was this one that I remember of like this giant praying mantis type thing that this guy saw, and I don't remember too much of the details. I just remember it being a humanoid-sized praying mantis type creature that shape-shifted at some point. I believe it changed its head or something. It kind of seemed extraterrestrial in a sense, but at the same time, it's just a story. It just sticks out from the details of the giant mantis type creature more than anything. I don't remember exactly what happened, how he saw it, where he saw it, but that I have seen something, or not seen, excuse me. I have been sent stories very similar to that of these weird insect type creatures.
Absolutely, and there's nothing freakier than that, especially if you don't know if they're from Earth, inner Earth, outer space. It's just weird. By the way, Chad Smith is stealing your identity, saying he is the gorgeous and talented Swamp Dweller. I don't
slander right there, Chad.
Total slander. I don't understand why he would do such a thing. Mbole is asking, did you say you had a story about the Mokele Mbembe?
I don't have a story about it, but Sam White Owl has one coming very soon.
All right. Moving on here. Happy is saying, why do you guys call it creepypasta?
The term creepypasta comes from what creepypasta originated as, which is more of a story it's a story that was continued by copy and pasting the same thing, but changing it every time you copy and pasted it. So that's where copypasta got put down into creepypasta, because it went from being funny memes into creepier, more real short story type things. And creepypasta kind of just became the encompassing term for horror fiction and short horror stories in general. Because the original creepypasta was actually all stories that interconnected, like Jeff the Killer, et cetera, et cetera. But now it's more of just an encompassing term for horror fiction and short horror stories.
Yeah, I appreciate the definition there. And let's go to another question here. That we just repeated that one, so we don't want it to say that again. let's go to Two-Hack here, who's asking, what's your favorite hybrid, the fawn, the centaur, or the werewolf?
Interesting. Out of those three, I'd probably say the centaur. I think they're pretty cool. Yeah, I don't know. They just seem like a more badass fawn. You know what I mean? Like the fawn seems kind of like more like a Mr. Tumnus type thing. Like you did me in the thumbnail here. You did me dirty there. Mr. Tumnus from Narnia. Then you kind of beef up, right? You get some steroids. You become the Arnold Schwarzenegger of fawns, and you become the centaur. But this time you get horse body. Super cool.
All right. Lawrence is asking, do you have any stories about feral people?
Man, that's a good question. It's kind of hard to define feral people, I guess, but I have had stories of the rainbow people in the Ocala National Forest, which is like a cult of homeless hippie people who some of the stories make them sound fairly feral. So I guess that could probably be the closest. I guess one story is like they have like these encampments out there, and this group of hikers was just kind of hiking and camping randomly through the Ocala National Forest, and they kind of came upon this encampment hiking towards the end of the day when they were trying to find a place, and they kind of got accepted by these people at first, and they're like, yeah, come here. But when they tried to leave the next morning, they were really creepy. They were trying to like keep them there. They were, excuse me, they were trying to, like feel them up, try to get them to come into their tents, try to get them to like, do very strange and just very uncomfortable things. And there was even to a point to where some guy was creeping up on them with like a broken glass bottle, like he was going to try to like attack them or something. And just very weird, unsettling encounters like that. It's probably the closest I could say of feral people.
Let's see. Here's one from Spaghetti Lee. Any info or stories about the Birdzilla film? I read that at first as Bridezilla. I don't know why. But Birdzilla film flying in Texas or pterodactyl type stories?
I'm not entirely sure if I have any more info to add than what's already been out there about the Birdzilla film thing from Texas or whatever it's been called. Modern pterodactyl sighting, potentially. Maybe some sort of thunderbird sighting, potentially. Maybe just a really big condor. But I don't know too much about it. I have shared some stories about pterodactyls and thunderbirds in the past, but if you want to hear a super epic encounter with a thunderbird, Letters from a Cryptid Hunter Thunderbird episode is definitely one I would suggest.
Do you think the thunderbirds are real?
For sure. I think if they don't exist anymore, they definitely did at one point, and they definitely existed alongside humans. I mean, there's multiple species we've known who have had wingspans that definitely could fit something of that nature. And I mean, like last time I was in here, I talked about Camazotz, the death bat from Mayan folklore. I mean, there were bats down in South America alongside humans not that long ago that were the size of us. So, I mean, anything's possible.
All right, let's continue on here. Jenny is asking, have you heard of the albinos that chase and collect the black-eyed kids?
I've never heard of that.
Me either. All right, Elle is asking, have tree knocks been linked to other cryptids other than Sasquatch as far as you know?
Yes. The Ozark Howler was known to do that. There are stories of the Beast of Bray Road doing that. And there's also very interesting encounters with ashmen, pale men, stick men, whatever you want to call them, mimicking things that Bigfoot and Sasquatch do to lure people to them. And that would be one of the things.
Love this question from Sasquatch. Any stories of people waking up at 3 a.m. with taco wrappers all over them? Now, this doesn't happen in my community because we don't have a taco shop, but I can guarantee you that if we did, Lord knows I would be doing this.
I've been horror stories, Sasquatch from Mexico, after the siesta. It's just, you wake up, you don't know what happened. You were enjoying yourself, you were eating tacos, suddenly you wake up and you were just somehow in a food coma. You just don't know.
Oh, God, now you're craving tacos. The closest, you want to hear a travesty, the closest Taco Bell to me is 2.5 hours away. 2 hours to 2.5 hours.
Oh, that's terrible. I don't know what I would ever do without authentic tacos. I can live without Taco Bell, but you take away the taquerias. No, please.
Yeah. Not a single one in my town, man. Not a single one in my town. Nucker in Oregon wants to know, are the yard gnomes plotting a takeover? You got any
They've already taken over. They've already won. They run the entire White House. If you notice, there's one right outside. It's over.
Do you got any gnome stories from people?
I have some like little people, duende, pugwidgey type stuff, but nothing I can really think of that detail wise. If I come on another time, I'll definitely be more prepared with some of these. I'll bring some interesting,
no problem,
obscure stories.
Yeah, that also leads to Fidgety Aura's question about little people. I mean, you hear a lot of these First Nations stories about the little people, about them being tricksters and being very dangerous to play with and hang out with. What do you think about this legend?
I think it's very interesting, and it's definitely one of the more intriguing and it's one of those Native American lores that are just steeped in a lot of superstition. And one of my favorite ones from Oklahoma, where they saw this little person, and they got it on camera. I think it was on Monster Quest at one point or something like that, or Lost Tapes, whatever those shows were called. And it's like running across the yard, and it looks clear as day, like it's a tiny little elf type thing. And when you get like places like Scotland, where they just have so many stories and lore about fae and fairies and all kinds of stuff. So I think there's got to be something to it. But I guess, as I've said 100 times tonight, I guess who's to say, right?
All right, we'll continue on. We got 3 minutes here. We'll try and throw in a couple more questions here. Big Willie, who said he was going to sleep about an hour and a half ago in the chat room, says, what keeps Swamp Dweller up at night when he cannot sleep?
Oh, man. What I normally like to answer this question is taxes. But
that'll do it.
It's a good one. But man, what keeps me up at night? Man, there's I would honestly say the things that keep me up at night are the uncontrollable things. Like if the Earth ever stopped moving or orbiting around, even just for a millisecond, everything on Earth would die. The universe is expanding at such a rate that eventually, probably not in our lifetime, but eventually it will get too large to where it will be stretching too much to where it will just tear. And everything will cease to exist. Stuff like that. That's what keeps me up at night. Weird existential stuff like that.
All right. Shiny Ray is asking, have you ever heard stories of the babies born with the webs on their faces in late 1800s, 1900s in the Ohio area?
I've seen like little small snippets about this story, and I've never actually looked into it, but now that I'm reminded of this, I'm definitely going to look into it and do some sort of creepy documentary on it. But I have heard of it. I don't know the details.
One of the funniest questions of the night. Do you have any creepy Chad Smith stories?
Last night, I was just minding my business at the grocery store, trying to listen to Dave Scott on Spaced Out Radio, and as I'm sitting here minding my own business, chatting away with my good friend Joe Monk here and Viv the King Viv, there's this creep that comes up in the chat and scares the absolute dickens out of me. It's just a face that I swear only a mother could love, and maybe his mother doesn't even love it. I don't even know. But Chad Smith pops up, and that's, like I said, the picture says everything. Don't look at the picture. It's terrifying. That's my terrifying Chad Smith encounter. Every time I have to see Chad Smith pop up, I'm terrified.
Oh, man. I don't know how you do it. I'm panicking now. I'm almost out of breath. My friend, we have 1 minute left with you tonight, and once again, I want to say a big thank you for being a fan of our shows. I'm a major fan of yours, and our audience loves you, and thank you for your audience coming into our chat room and enjoying the chat tonight. Do me a favor. Tell everybody what's coming up with Swamp Dweller and where they can find your information.
Well, first, thank you for having me on again. This was a pleasure. It's a great honor to be here. You can find me pretty much anywhere on the internet, any social medias at Swamp Dweller. You can find me on YouTube at Swamp Dweller. I've got tons of cool stuff. I got Creepy History series coming back. We've got more Letters from a Cryptid Hunter. Tons of new stories, statewide stories, cryptid stories, and missing 411 accounts coming very soon. And just a lot of cool things coming up in the works that I think you guys will all enjoy.
Really appreciate you, my friend. You made it a lot of fun tonight, so thank you so much for coming on. We will definitely do it again very, very soon. Coming up on Spaced Out Radio, the fedora-wearing John Hudson is back for the UFO report. We got Shirky Poo's news, and of course, the thought of the day. Once again, Swamp Dweller. Check him on out on YouTube. Hit that subscribe button. You will be glad that you did. Final half hour as we take this thing home. Coming up right after the break. Wonderful show, my friend.
Yeah, thank you for having me. This was a lot of fun.
Oh, dude, it was a blast. Absolutely love you. And we'll get in touch soon because I do want to have that YouTube conversation with you if you don't mind.
Yeah, definitely. Anytime.
All right, brother. I'll let you go get some sleep.
All right. I'll talk to you soon.
Good night. Swamp Dweller, everyone. God, I love that guy. I'm actually going to pick out right now what I'm going to listen to tonight. I might go finish up the Ouija board stories. There's just so much to choose from. So much to choose from. Fire lookouts. Just go, if you haven't hit subscribe to his channel yet, go hit subscribe. You're going to be glad that you did. You really would be. So make sure you do that for yourself and have some fun with it, that's for sure. Boy, Chad Smith getting roasted right at the end. Right at the end. Just, Swamp Dweller dropping an elbow a la Randy Macho Man Savage all over Chad Smith. Look at that. Chad Smith firing back. Can Swamp Dweller be found on Tinder? All right. And Big Willie's heading to Taco Bell. You jerk. You jerk. What a great show. Love the Swamp Dweller. Some great comments from you guys here, too. Thank you for your love of our guest, man. Or everybody. Really appreciate it. Even Joe Monk gets a mention. Hey, Aaron, the original. How are you? Fantastic love. Thank you. Let's see. Chad, Dave, I will remain a wrench for 2022 as long as you book him again. Oh, yeah, we'll get Swamp Dweller back on. I would like to actually get a panel of these creepypasta people and bring them on and talk about some spooky stories. I think that would be fantastic. Look at this. Chad Smith is my baby toy. Hold on. Was John having issues here? Oh, no, there it is. Okay, cool. Can't wait for the fedora-wearing one. The King. I will watch if Chad Smith is back. See, Jenny, you're like me. Swamp Dweller totally tucks me in at night, too. Swamp Dweller saying he can only come back if Chad Smith wills it. Doop, 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 doop.
Always got to test the mic,
Absolutely. All right.
One of these days, dude, I have a crazy story to tell you about a trip my friend took in the South. Involved a staircase.
Oh, yeah. I definitely need to hear that. It
was funny. I just remembered it today. I think a lot of those staircases, though, honestly, are just because the staircases were the best made thing in the house. And they were made out of cement or metal or some really good material, and the whole house burned down and fell apart, and the staircase gets left. I think some of those are just those cases.
Maybe. I'm not taking the chance, though, brother. I have thought about that.
Dude, I would so go up that staircase. Oh, my God. I mean, if I was by myself, maybe not, because then no one would know what happened to me. But if I had someone with me, I'd be like, oh, dude, just film this. If I vanish, we're making millions.
You know what the freaky part about those stairways is? Like, say you find one in the forest. You're not going to be prepared for it. You're not going to have your cameras. So you punch it in, the coordinates into a GPS, and then you go get your camera gear. You come back, and the staircase is gone.
So that's what happened to my buddies. And when they asked around town about the location, not only did everyone refuse to talk about it, everyone slammed the door in their face.
No way. Nope. Not doing that. Want to say a big thank you to Cat Chaser, Alicia, Chad Smith, Gray, Maria ×2, TMI, Chad Jacobs, Dirt Road, Jeremy, Yancey, Sinister, Rooted in Gorgeous Sacredness, and Nicola for the amazing super chats. Thank you so much for the veterans who are tuning us in, the regulars, and our new friends who've come on in. Here comes the final half hour. We rounded third. We're heading for home tonight on Spaced Out Radio. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. Really do appreciate earning your listening ears. Want to remind you that if you've missed most of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website, spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. We got some great swag as well. Follow us on Twitter @SpacedOutRadio and on Instagram, Spaced Out Radio Show. It is time once again for the fedora-wearing John Hudson in the UFO Report. Love your theme song, John. The Day After by Bumblefoot just sets the tone just right for a little UFO talk with you. How you doing, buddy?
Doing good. We're just enjoying listening to that guy's killer voice, man.
Doesn't he have a beautiful voice?
What a fun dude, man. I'm one of those guys. Normally I don't like think about these sort of things, but definitely someone I would love.
Don't mind me. Just sneaking out to go to Kohl's. The home deals right now, they're too good to pass up. Like up to 40% off cuddle beds bedding, up to 50% off the cutest fall decor, and up to 25% off Ninja kitchen appliances. How can I resist? You can even get 15% off or 15, 20, or 30% off with a Kohl's card. So yeah, I'm going all in for fall, and I can't even wait. Select styles. Offers end October 17th. Some exclusions apply. See store or Kohl's.com for details.
Buy one, get one for $1 at McDonald's. Or as we like to call it, the can't have just one deal. Mix and match a sausage biscuit, sausage McGriddles, McChicken biscuit, chicken McGriddles, or crispy hash browns. Want 2 sausage biscuits? Buy one, get one for $1. Want a sausage biscuit and hash browns? That's cool too. Choose more of what you love. Buy one, get one for $1 at McDonald's. Prices and participation may vary. Valid for item of equal or lesser value. Cannot be combined with combo meal.
Sure, a pint with someday.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he's definitely beer and tacos. He's beer and tacos, and that's a compliment. That is totally.
No, he's honestly, he's like your little mini me, man. Like hearing you guys talking about the hot sauces was cracking me up.
Oh, he's got me beat, man. I can take some hot stuff, but he has got me beat by a mile. I don't know if I could ever touch that.
I love hot sauce, but he defined the line for me. As soon as it's crossed that line where it destroys the flavor, you can't taste anything anymore. That's my limit where I'm like, what's the point? I still want to taste the food, you know?
Dude, I almost died the night I did the Pocky One Chip Challenge.
Did you film it?
Yeah, it's on Periscope somewhere.
Okay, I'll look for it. That's awesome. I want to see that.
But, I mean, it was crazy, man. Like, my ears were burning. My entire neck and shoulders and arms went numb. And I had to rip my I was wearing earbuds at the time. I had to rip those out because my ears felt like they were going to explode. I mean, just the stupidest thing I've ever done. I would probably do it again with some coaxing.
Of course you would.
You know, but 1.9 million Scoville units in your mouth out of a potato chip is just stupid.
He said 4 million for one of those things he ate.
Yeah. Well, he did 6 of them in a row. Like, put 6 of the chips in his mouth. I'm dying at one.
I'm surprised you can taste anything anymore. No.
There's not enough milk in the world to take away that pain. Not enough milk. Anyways, moving on here. This story that you mentioned to us just a couple of nights ago about Einstein and his assistant and her deathbed confession about Roswell and aliens. This is gaining major steam, man.
Well, and the thing is that first off, everyone, I need to apologize. I got 2 things wrong myself, and then one of my sources got something wrong, and so I need to make some quick clarifications on this case before we go any further. Dr. Shirley Wright passed away in 2015, not 2012. It also means that it was not a deathbed confession because it was actually taped in 1993. So she was many years before death. Yes. It turns out it appeared in a book by Schofield that came out many years ago, but it was done with a fake name. And so that's why we didn't know who she was. And so this was not a deathbed confession. The other thing that I'll get into more in a second is that not everyone died. There was a surviving occupant, and there's more to that. And then the last thing is this was not a mystery war. This was on Coast to Coast. So I was a mess here, and I do apologize. I got the Coast to Coast thing and the date wrong, and I do apologize. But the fact about the occupant surviving and actually communicating was not totally my fault. I will blame someone else for that one. But to be kind, I'll leave names out. But yeah, no, this story is it's gaining steam, and what's fun is that Anthony is it
Bragalia.
Bragalia. Not only did he just do a great job. I mean, you guys, I'll supply a link to you. Got to check out his site. He just did it's a really nice, clean write up. It has all the interviews on it. You can listen to them right there. He does a really nice. He's got pictures and everything. But a bunch of other people are doing great reporting on it. A friend of the show, Thomas Fessler, right?
Yeah,
Fessler. He did a great episode on this on Monday or Tuesday that I also highly recommend people check out, where he goes into this in detail, talks about her background and goes into a lot of really good details. And so we won't have that kind of time here. So I encourage everyone to check that out as well. And so there's a lot of good material being worked on around this. The one thing I will want to say point blank is that all we have is the recordings. Okay. So the recordings are the only evidence we have. And so that's an important thing to remember off the bat before you get too excited about this story, because it's fun. But there is that caveat that the only evidence we have is this recording. But, oh my God, Dave, this story. So it turns out that she was selected as part of a grant program to essentially select top students for Einstein to mentor. So she got picked. I believe she was about 17 when she got picked. And she was basically Einstein's like pet student for a couple years, right? He really took her under his wing. And so they grew very close. And so basically, as I stated before, Einstein got called off to this meeting. She, what took with him because she was just part of his entourage. But where things get super interesting, which I want to get to really quick before we run out of time, is that when they got there, as I said before, they saw the ship. The ship was quite large. It was damaged. Well, she wasn't allowed to go into the ship. Einstein was, and he did tell her some things about what was in the ship, like the fact that it was a very spacious ship with mostly components around the edge, but there were objects that would come out of the floor with control panels on them that were activated by either movement or by some indication that basically inside the ship. So they did actually get to explore inside the ship. But where things get really interesting is, and this is all covered in the interview, and you can listen to them. They're only like maybe 10 minutes and I think 8 minutes long. There's a third interview that taped that Sheila blah 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 blah. Where'd her name go? Sheila Franklin. She's the investigator that did the recordings. So Sheila Franklin is still looking for that third recording. She is still alive, and she's the one who Anthony Bragalia has been working with. And so she's still looking for that third tape. But in this tape, what she describes is that there was 9 occupants. 8 of them died on contact. 1 of them survived. And unlike what I reported before, well, he was verbally just making sounds. According to what Einstein told her, he was communicating via telepathy, and they interviewed him. And there was a back and forth exchange of questions. He would ask a question, they would ask a question, and she remembered many of the answers he gave. So you want to hear a couple of them?
Oh yeah, bring this on.
So questions that he asked. He wanted to know how long we lived. He wanted to know what sort of conditions would terminate what we referred to as life. He wanted to know what was the best system that we had for exploring outside of our atmosphere and outside of our oceans. He wanted to know how deeply we had penetrated the galaxy. So not only were these interesting questions, but what they showed in detail was how little he knew about us. Okay? This was not a being that had spent a bunch of time like investigating us or spending time with us. This was someone who had come, fairly new, right? He was very quick to make it clear that we were completely clueless. We had absolutely no idea what we were doing. So there was some arrogance that came through. What he said was that they appeared to be exploring for a new energy source because essentially something where they lived had been exhausted. So they were looking for a new energy source. When they found Earth, they arrived in 8 ships. 2 of them went down. 1 of them in New Mexico. The other one, according to him, in Siberia. Now, he didn't know Siberia, but when he described the location of where it went down, they figured out it was Siberia or the other one went down. No word if that craft was recovered by anyone. I have to assume it was recovered by somebody. He did not know what took down the ship. He, at one point, was getting ready to actually go back into the ship to help explain more about how the ship worked when he expired. So he did not live very long. She was not there when he expired. She was back at the hotel when he expired, but he expired while they were there on their trip. She did say that he was very careful as to what he said. He clearly seemed to be being very cautious about how much information he gave out about his own group to us. She was not able. She didn't know exactly what all the answers we got from him was as far as the questions we asked. She struggled a bit to remember what she did, but it is one hell of an interview, and you got to go listen to it, and I'll provide the link in the thing. And I'm sorry I talk so much, Dave. This is just really exciting stuff, man.
That is exciting. It's very exciting to hear this. I mean, the sad part about it is, it's anecdotal. We have to take her resume and her word on this. Because, this is the type, John, when you and I have talked both publicly and privately about this entire phenomena, I hear this, and I'm goosebumping. I really am. I really am goosebumping for a good reason. Okay, but when I hear stories like this, it also makes me think that this is why we have an entirely controlled narrative of the UFO phenomena right now. Because if this came out of Pandora's UFO box, this is the type of stuff that the mainstream public is not ready for. The people who live by the day by day, the Instagrammers, the influencers, and everything like this, worried about their 2.1.
This is 1947.
I know, man.
47.
But this is what I'm saying though. Is if you
my dad was 2.
Yeah, my dad wasn't even born. But
it's shocking.
But, this is what I'm saying, though, regarding this phenomena, okay, is when we look at it and we take it for the information that we are not being told. This UFO Pandora's box that is out there that the United States government does not want us to get really, to me, solidifies, if this is 100% true, why they are controlling the narrative on the entire story that comes out, because there's a lot of secrets out there that they want none of us to know about.
Well, the problem is that if you think about it, what Einstein was clearly after was what he could learn about physics from this adventure, and what he could learn about propulsion systems. Okay, now you're talking about a time where the U.S. had gone from a pretty much middle class country to the leaders of the world, and it was all because of science, right? And it happened in a very short period of time, right? It happened in about a 10-year period, and so this is 10 years into that period, and so everyone's going to look at this as this is the key to us staying ahead for the next 200 years. And the problem is that there is no way in America, because of the freedom of press, there is absolutely no way for the government to tell the American people anything at all that the rest of the world doesn't hear. So the U.S. government has to look at telling anyone in the American public anything as also notifying every other country in the world. And so as a result, I can't blame them. The strategic advantage here is it's earth-shattering, right? And so how could you, the instant you announced it, what would happen? There'd be a world of explosion of people demanding access to it, demanding pieces of it. Wars would break out over the ship.
Absolutely, man. And that's why even today, there's so many questions about the whole disclosure movement and what it means and what it truly means. It really shows, if this is true, the entire narrative that goes along. I got to ask you this question, though. How did Anthony Bragalia come across this audio?
This is the best part, and I haven't had a chance to talk to him, so I'd really like to, just to make sure I understand. But my understanding is he stumbled into it. that essentially my understanding was that he was interviewing Sheila Franklin for some other reason, because Sheila Franklin was an investigator. She worked for MUFON for a while, and so he was interviewing her for other reasons. Suddenly this came up in conversation, and he's like, well, do you have anything of it? And she's like, oh yeah, I still have the recordings. Do you want to hear them?
Just fell right into his lap.
That's my understanding, and I need to get that clarified, but that's my understanding. That's my understanding is this was not what he was originally looking for.
This is huge.
It's gigantic.
The fact that those were sitting in a dusty desk somewhere for a long time,
and she can't find the third one. It's like I lost some socks, and this third recording of of this. And the thing is, this woman went on to have an illustrious career. She had a very established, beautiful scientific career after this. So, she was a completely upstanding citizen until the recording of this one thing.
Oh, wow. All right, man. When you set up the news for me and I only saw one topic tonight, I was like, what's John doing? You hit a home run with this.
The truth is, you and I could go on for 3 hours. I mean, this is so huge. It's so much fun. But the thing, to your point, is really important. This is anecdotal. It's strong anecdotal. It's a recording, and it's a recording we can all access. But that's the only evidence we have, and everyone must remember that when processing this story, because it's easy to get too excited.
Well,
as you can see,
I think we got to try and get the booking team on to get Anthony Bergali on.
I agree.
I think we really need to look into this more, and this is a story that we got to keep on top of, and you're doing a great job with that. John, thank you so much for another fantastic UFO report. Stick around. We'll talk to you in a few minutes in the after hours, and we'll talk to you in a second. Let's get to Shirky Poo's news. The news is always changing, which is why we bring you the SOR News Wire at the back end of every show. A little bit of breaking news, as it looks like a team of specialists have claimed to have identified the notorious Zodiac Killer. Yeah, the reports of this Case Breakers team, a team of 40 former law enforcement investigators, journalists, and military intelligence officers, said it has identified the Zodiac Killer as Gary Francis Post, who died in 2018 after years of research uncovered new forensic evidence and photos from Post's dark room. Among findings are an image showing scars on Post's forehead, which matched the police sketch of the Zodiac Killer, and deciphered letters sent by the Zodiac in which he claims responsibility for the killings, with Post's full name removed to reveal an alternate message in one note. Former Army counterintelligence agent Jen Buchholz, who works on cold cases, confirmed this. So you've got to know Gary's full name in order to decipher these anagrams, Buchholz said. I just don't know there's any other way anybody else who could have figured it out. The case breakers also believe Post is responsible for the death of Cherie Joe Bates back on Halloween of 1966 in Riverside, California, which occurred 2 years prior and hundreds of miles away from the San Francisco area, where the Zodiac Killer first struck in a series of murders from 1968 to 1969. Don't know where Shirky Poo's going with this one, but the sex toy industry finally has a set of quality standards to go by thanks to years of effort from toy makers themselves. Until now, all of those jewel-toned silicone dicks, plugs, and sleeves existed in something of a regulatorily wild west of sex toy manufacture. Oh, Shirky Poo, you outdid yourself with this one. Yeah, so now there is, I don't even know where to go with this one. There's an international organization of standardizations for sex toys now. Design and safety requirements for products, including direct contact with genitalia, the anus, or both, outlines design requirements for things like plugs, vibrators, dildos, and many other intended sexual stimulation or to enhance sexual pleasure. That includes, it also excludes, though, lubes, oils, gels, sprays, foods, and anything named after Chad Smith. I just read the story. Can we even do a thought of the day after this one? Shirky Poo, you got me all red. I'm embarrassed here. This is awesome. Oh, yeah. Some of the requirements: make sure plugs, beads, and things that go up the anus can't stay up there or could be retrieved by a medical professional if needed. Chastity cages, rings can be removed with pliers or other common household tools in case of emergency, and toys with heating elements must never exceed 118 degrees Fahrenheit. That's your news. I'm done. Thank you, Shirky Poo, for the news. Thanks, John Hudson, for the UFO report. And our guest, the big bad swamp dweller, for kicking things off tonight. We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal rocking in the background with Little Brother is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at home, at work, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone tuning us in on YouTube, LGAB, Twitch, Revolution Radio, Spreaker, Facebook, and on Twitter at hashtag Spaced Out Radio.
I know you're out there somewhere.
Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us. Because together, my friends, we buzz the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo Train has docked for the night. But soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we've got room for them too. Good night. Thank God, we're done.
Buy one, get one for $1 at McDonald's. Or as we like to call it, the can't have just one deal. Mix and match a sausage biscuit, sausage McGriddles, McChicken biscuit, chicken McGriddles, or crispy hash browns. Want 2 sausage biscuits? Buy one, get one for $1. Want a sausage biscuit and hash browns? That's cool too. Choose more of what you love. Buy one, get one for $1 at McDonald's. Prices and participation may vary. Valid for item of equal or lesser value. Cannot be combined with combo meal. Buy one, get one for $1 at McDonald's. Or as we like to call it, the can't have just one deal. Mix and match a sausage biscuit, sausage McGriddles, McChicken biscuit, chicken McGriddles, or crispy hash browns. Want 2 sausage biscuits? Buy one, get one for $1. Want a sausage biscuit and hash browns? That's cool too. Choose more of what you love. Buy one, get one for $1 at McDonald's. Prices and participation may vary. Valid for item of equal or lesser value. Cannot be combined with combo meal.